This episode is powered by Outpost Roasters, small batch, high quality coffee with soul. Outpost Roasters in Johnson City specializes in freshly roasted, small batch, ethically sourced, fair trade local coffee. That's what sets them apart from the big guys. They work directly with small farms and co-ops to ensure responsible practices and rich, balanced flavor in every single cup. Whether it's early mornings or late nights, their 12-ounce bags deliver bold, smooth coffee at a totally fair price. Head to outpostroastersjc.com to explore their blends and single origins. Outpost Roasters, coffee that's definitely worth waking up for. Okay. All right. Morning, Lou.
Good morning.
How are you?
I am awesome. I'm awesome. You need me to help you with that intro?
Well, what I would like you to do is go ahead and say your name.
Okay.
And just a little, well, first of all, I guess you can talk about Smash Meals or you can talk about church, but just go ahead and give a little intro.
Okay, cool. So my name is Louis Kizer. If you didn't know that, most people call me Lou. My dad's Louis. I'm Lou. My son, we call LB. He's the third.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. I've been a United Methodist pastor since I was 18 years old, and I love being a pastor. And a few years ago, 8 years ago, in fact, my current, I don't know if that's the right word, but my wife at the time and I started Smash Meals, and now I own it by myself. We're not nonprofit. We're a gluten-free meal prep company. Also do catering. Currently serve 2 churches in our area in Bluff City and right outside of Bristol, and 2 kids, and they're amazing. They turned 16 on Friday.
They're twins,
Thursday.
Right?
Yeah. So they're
boy and a
twins.
girl.
Yeah, boy and girl, LB and Daisy. They turn 16 tomorrow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, and this morning was a little sad for you.
Yeah, it was sad because, you take them they're born, right? I drove them home from the hospital, and it was February. They were born February 26th. They were 5 weeks early. Okay. Kind of funny story. I'll get to the 16 in a second. So we go in on the 25th because she wasn't feeling well, and she had a doctor's appointment, and she had to take this urine test. And then they call us back, and they're like, hey, there's something going on, and if you feel kind of weird, call us back. So it's like 9 o'clock at night. And she's like, Lou, I'm feeling weird. So I called the doctor, and the doctor was like, well, just come on down to the hospital. We lived in Malsheim at the time. So we drove to Johnson City to the specialty hospital. And before we left, she was like, hey, are we going to take the dog? Because the dog went everywhere with us at this time because we didn't have kids. And I was like, no, let's leave the dog just in case. So we get to the specialty hospital. They're like, hey, you're going to spend the night. So, as a dude, I just went to sleep right on the couch. I don't have anything to do. And they checked her all night long. The next morning they wake up and it's her birthday, February 26th. And they were like, hey, congratulations. Happy birthday. Got good news and bad news. Which one you want first? And she's like, well, that's the bad news. You can't stay at this hospital. You got to go to the med center.
Oh, man.
Well, I said, what's the good news? And they're like, well, we're going to need to take your babies today on your birthday. Oh. So February 26, 2010, they were born. So they were like, do you want an ambulance? And I was like, no, we don't need an ambulance to go from the specialty hospital to the medical center. It's just right down the road. And they were like, okay, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah. So her and I aren't thinking it's a big deal at all.
Yeah.
We're just like moving to another hospital.
Yeah.
So we go out and get in the car. We drive, and I'm like, kind of hungry. So I go to Hardee's. And they had like the 2 for $2.22 bacon, egg, and cheese biscuits. So we pull through the drive-through. We get to the hospital, and we just wait in the parking lot. We call our parents, hey, today's going to be the day. We're going to have the babies. And I finished both my biscuits. We take our time. We walk down to the hospital. I didn't even drop her off at the door. Walk down to the hospital. There's a whole team of surgical people waiting on us. And they're like, where have you been? I'm like, I went to get biscuits. And they were like, she's having the babies right now. And we went from the door to the surgical room.
Wow.
Yeah. And on the way, they put gowns on me, and they put gowns on her as soon as she got in there. And we had the babies within 15 minutes of us getting to the hospital.
Well, did they end up telling you why?
It was preeclampsia, but nobody told us that, and so we didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
But so we were in the hospital for about a week. They were 5 weeks premature. And the day we were going home, it's snowing. So I got a 45-minute drive from Johnson City to Malsheim. And I'm doing 20 miles an hour, right? Yeah. And it's snowing, and there's cars, and I'm slamming on the brakes, nervous as all get out. So, and this morning when I woke up, that was my vision of me taking them home from the hospital. And today I got up and drove them to the high school, and technically it's the last time I'm going to drive them to school.
Yeah.
Because tomorrow morning they're skipping the first period so they can go get their driver's license.
Yeah.
And, for me as a dad, like I remember driving them home from the hospital. I remember driving them to preschool for the first time, kindergarten for the first time, all the way, just driving them everywhere. And now, my son has a 72 Ford F-100. That's what he wanted, an old truck. So we found him one. My girl's got like a 2013 Ford Escape. And like technically tomorrow, they don't need me to drive them anywhere. And so on the way to school today, I was crying a little bit. And I said to Daisy and LB, I said, before you get out, just to warn you, when you get out of the car today, I'm giving you all the hugs and kisses. Yeah. like it's a big deal. But I love my children. They're incredible. My little girl, she's always, she's been in gymnastics, and then at 6 years old, she won the state championship for her little gymnastics, and she was competing against like 15 and 16-year-olds. And my son's been a swimmer. Now they play golf together, and they're so unique. You have twins. You never know how you raise them at the same time, right? I mean, potty train at the same time, learn to talk at the same time. They went from cribs to beds at the same time. Everything's at the same time. But then you get to this moment and you're like, how are they going to be different? I remember early on, somebody said, because you couldn't really tell them apart early on when they had clothes on. And somebody said, how do you tell them apart when they don't have clothes on? I was like, oh God, boy, girl, but as they've grown up, like it was amazing because we didn't do anything different. And to see them progress and have their own personalities has been really, I think, been amazing for me as a dad. Yeah. Like to see that and to see them come with who they are. Last night, LB took a girl on a date, and of course I had to drive them, so the dad met us at the Drake's parking lot, and of course I jump out, and he jumps out of the car because I'm like, oh cool, the dad's here, I'm gonna meet him and meet the girl. I never met the girl before, and I shake his hand, and I'm like, hey, I'm Luke Kizer. Of course my son was on the other side, he's coming around, and he had a rose for the little girl, and he was excited, so they kind of like met him, and the dad and I met, and then I met the daughter, and I was like, I've never met your daughter before. He's like, I never met your son before. And so they went and had dinner. I went and did something else. And then I picked them back up after a couple hours and drove them to the Blackbird Bakery on the way. I was like, it was really cool to meet your dad. And he's like, yeah, he was going to come so he could be all tough and bad. And I laughed because here I jumped out of the car and I didn't realize I was diffusing anything or calming him down. Yeah. And then we found out it was her first ever date.
Oh, wow.
And so my son, I was so proud of him because he got her a rose to give her on her first date. And then they went to Blackbird Bakery and they had coffee and sat and talked for a long time. And I sat out on the side of the road, and I just took all that moment in because I won't probably never get that opportunity again. I remember taking Daisy on her first dates, and as a dad, right, for me anyway, I know you're a mom, but like to remember some of these moments, because over the last 16 years of their life, there's so many moments I forgot, and I'm lucky enough as a pastor, they go with me.
You're making me cry.
Oh, sorry. As a pastor, they go with me everywhere, and I think that's a cool thing about being an entrepreneur and being a pastor is, you don't have an 8 to 5 in a manufacturing job where they can't go. You don't, I'm not a truck driver. So, my buddy grew up, his dad was a truck driver. So sometimes he would drive with him, but throughout the year, he didn't get to see him much. But, to be a pastor and to be an entrepreneur and own my own business, they're with me a lot. Yeah. And I love that about that. They've gotten to see the great things about church. They've gotten to see some hard things about church. They've gotten to see some great things about growing a business, but at the same time, they've seen some hard things about growing a business. And, between being a pastor where you work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because you're always on call, and owning your own business where you think about your business 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you put those together, they're like, they see it all. Yeah. And, they've been working for Smash Mills since the day we started it. I mean, it's amazing now. People ask, yesterday I took LB also to his first flying lesson. And the instructor said, well, how many chefs do you have? And I was like, wait, he's one of my main ones. I mean, he does such an amazing job cooking meat and I know I've taught him, but he's better than me at that. And then Daisy is so good at making all the desserts and running the kitchen and telling people what to do. And so like when we're all three there together, it works so well because they're almost an extension of my hands, but better.
Yeah.
Right. Because as an entrepreneur, you have to learn as you go, but then you teach the people that are important to you or the people that are close to you, the things that you learned after you went through all the mistakes. And then, so they can do it better than you.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that like as a dad, like that's something that I really love to see them be better at me than things than I was.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't always listen to my parents. I wish I would have.
Yeah.
You know, because they teach us so much because they've been there and done that. And they're trying to like keep you from going through there and do that. And to see them do things that I've taught them really is really cool.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, we finished his flying lesson. It was in Abington. We had to take one of his buddies went with him because he's also wants to fly. And we dropped him off and we were trying to figure out where we were going. And he was like, "Oh, Dad, I got to get her a flower." And he's like, where do we do that? And I thought, oh, there's a Waggles there. And I was like, we'll just go to the Waggles. And he's like, there's not flowers at a gas station. I'm like, there's always flowers at Waggles. And he's like,
is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah,
Waggles?
That's how I pronounce it.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Weagles.
You know,
but I'm not. I mean, I don't. Waggles. Okay.
We're just going to go with it. Okay.
Yeah, let's roll with it.
And if you're on the company and you're watching this podcast, you just let us know. But I've said Waggles my whole life, and I'm sure I'm sure I say it wrong, but we're going to go with it. Okay.
I mean, it's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
So, but he's like, how do you know that, Dad? I'm like, I've been in enough of them. I know they always have flowers.
Yeah.
And so on the way home, he's like, thanks so much, Dad, for knowing that.
Yeah.
And like, that was like a cool moment. He probably didn't think twice of it, but I was excited that he knew that he thanked me for knowing that there was flowers at Waggles.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
Yeah. But so we'll go back to Smash Meals for a second. I mean, we've been around for 8 years and it started in our home, which is kind of crazy. So Ashley is my ex-wife, the kid's mom's name. And I was at the hospital one night and there was a man who was dying and I was with his family and we knew it was intimate. So not intimate. Well, they're both either way.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So we're there and it's probably like a 5-hour thing. And I checked it with her a few times, how the kids, what's going on. And she sends me this text message. She's like, so I think I just started a business. And I was like, oh, cool. That's great. Because she's really good at starting businesses. Like, and so like throughout when we were married, so like every time she would want to start something, I was fully on board. Like, you know, I think as a dad, as a husband, as a friend, like I'm going to support you wholeheartedly. You have an idea, I'm going to go with it.
Yeah.
All in. And so I got home and I was like, so what would you start? And she said, well, some friends of mine wanted me to go grocery shopping for them. She was a personal trainer. And she's like, why don't I just cook food for you? And I was like, okay, so what are you going to cook? And she's like, well, I'm going to have this menu and blah, blah. I was like, well, where are we going to cook it? And she's like, well, in the kitchen. And we only had like one tiny little stove with those little coil burners, you know, not even a great stove. We had a tiny refrigerator. I was like, where are you going to put it when you cook it? I don't know. And so her and I worked out those details where we're going to put it. I was like, how are you going to deliver it? I don't know. So we sat there and worked out those details. And I was like, what are you going to put it in? I don't know. So we worked out those details. And so like starting a business from scratch, you have to like think about all those little details. And I think sometimes when you start business by yourself, you spend your mind just running and running and running. But when you have somebody to bounce ideas off of. So we started this business and it grew really, really quick. And so I quickly realized we need to get like a sales tax. We need to get licenses, all that. So I started reaching out to the state. What do we need? So the state tells me everything we need. So I send them money. They send me the stuff, all the stuff that we need. Right. And about 11 months later, just got this phone call and it was from the health department. They were like, hey, we've been hearing you running a food prep business. Absolutely. We got all the paperwork you need. Do you need copies of it or something? They're like, no, you've never applied through the health department. I was like, didn't know you needed to. We contacted the state. We asked them what all you need to do. They told us. I was like, I've been paying sales tax now for 11 months. Yeah. Y'all have collected thousands of dollars and now you think it's a good idea to reach out to me? Yeah. And they were like, well, somebody's complained about you. And I was like, oh, so they're like another business, you know, complained about us taking their business. I'm not real sure what happened. So I was like, well, what does that mean? They're like, well, you cannot keep being a business until you have the health inspection. I was like, well, when you coming? Coming tomorrow? And he's like, no, I'm going to come next week. And he's like, you keep running your business this week. I'll be there next week, and then we can make a plan. So the guy shows up at our house. And I'd done a lot of due diligence over the 11 months to figure out what all you needed. We had stainless steel everything. We had sinks. We had all the stuff. And he comes in, and you know what we didn't have? We didn't have a no smoking sign outside of our house. You got to have a no smoking sign. We didn't have hinges on our doors in our bathrooms. You got to have hinges on doors in the bathrooms. And we didn't have we had a 2-bay sink instead of a 3-bay sink. And we didn't have a separate hand washing sink. And he's like, everything else is perfect. That's all you need. And you got 30 days to get it done, and you can keep running your business during these 30 days. So that went out, and a buddy of mine, his brother worked for Chick-fil-A, and they were doing a demo at Chick-fil-A in Morristown, and they had an extra hand washing sink and a 3-bay sink that they were fixing to throw away. Drove down there, put it in my trailer, drove it back, drilled holes in my floor, installed a 3-bay sink, installed a hand washing sink, and got hinges off of Amazon and a no smoking sign to put outside. And he came back, and we got 100 the first try. And we ran that until 2020 there, and we moved it to Meadowview, where we are currently. We have a full commercial kitchen at Meadowview Convention Center. It's actually in the back parking lot. And, we've seen a lot of ups and downs, through that. And obviously we went through a divorce, which was extremely hard. Anytime that you start something, you always want to succeed.
Yeah, for sure.
And, so to go through have a business partner that's your wife that you divorced, then we stayed business partners for a while. Then, she wanted to kind of do her own thing. And so she was like, I want to close the business. I was like, I don't want to do that. And that was a tough decision. It was scary. You start something with somebody and you become reliant on them, right? You have your role, they have their role, and you work together. She was the face of Smash Meals. She's a personal trainer, and, she knew everybody. I just kind of stayed back and kind of did my own thing. I made sure we cooked. I made sure we had all the supplies. I made sure we had all the groceries. I made sure to order pallets of containers and bags and everything we needed. But to see her walk away was really, really scary. And I didn't think I would succeed, honestly. I thought I was going to give it a shot, but in my mind, I thought I would fail. Not because she wasn't there, but because I couldn't do it all.
What year was that?
That was 2 years ago. So 2023, maybe it was more than longer than that. I think she stepped out in December of 2023. So I started January 1st of 2024.
Okay.
But it was scary. I knew how to run the kitchen. I knew all the recipes because I knew how to do everything, but to become fully reliant on yourself. Yeah. I remember the first day, it was just me. Because a lot of our employees left when she left, because they thought we were shutting it down and we didn't. And there was just 4 of us in the kitchen. And, normally there's 9 or 10 of us. And like our mom was just spinning out of control. It was hard. Yeah. But I'm sitting here 2 years later. We did. I was on the way actually today. This morning I looked, and year over to year from February or March 1st of 2024 through February of 28th of 2025 now, and then February 28th to March 1st of whatever this year is, we were up 50%. So last year, so we were, so to be up 50% when you thought that you weren't, I wasn't sure if I would survive to being up 50% in sales, is a big deal.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. It's been interesting to see it, cause I do a lot, between being a pastor full-time, being a dad full-time, being a business owner full-time. Like there's a lot to juggle in all that. And, the lady that I'm dating, we've been dating for a while now, her name's Kelly. She said to me this morning, she said, I hear you say so often on Sundays about trusting God. And then I hear you at the same time talk about your business and not have trust that God's going to be with you, and you feel like you're going to be a failure. And she's like, which one is it, Lou? Do you trust God or do you not? And that, literally she said that to me about 45 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And having, you know, business and ministry come together and trying to do it all and is not the easiest thing in the world.
No. Well, sometimes we can speak the words, right? And then just like that, we're like, dang it.
Yeah.
Then it's like, oh, hey, listen, God was like, hey, Lou.
100%.
Practice what you preach.
Yeah.
Which is not easy. I mean, we're totally all guilty of that, but that's why we have grace, which is, you know, an unbelievable thing.
100%.
But
yeah, when you said that, it reminded me, like, you know, I know I've already talked about this, but taking them kids home the first day and it was driving and I was like, everybody just move out the way.
Yeah.
You know, like I wish I was like Superman at that moment, you know, like I'm going to have like a force field around me and cars just stop.
Yeah. Or Andre the Giant and Princess Bride. And he's like, everybody move. And everybody just like parts.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be cool. Have Andre the Giant walking around with you.
That would be kind of good. But
R.I.P. R.I.P.
Yeah. You know, grace goes a long way though, doesn't it?
Yeah. How long have you been a pastor now?
Since I was
18. That's right. Since you were 18.
So let's see, I'm 44 this year. So I started, well, I'm terrible at math when I'm doing it like in my mind like that, but
it's okay.
I know I'm really good at cross multiplication in case anybody wants to know. Like that's my jam. I can figure out anything as long as I can cross multiply. But
4 times 4, go.
16. But
32 times 8.
No, I got nothing on that. I'd have to like think about it. But you know, you think about like I was 18 and it was the year 2000. Kind of crazy to think about. And my very first time, I love this story. So a buddy, we had driven around the country. Before we drove around the country, I got this phone call, and this guy goes, "Hey, my name, I can't remember the guy's name, but he was like, hey, we know you're going into ministry because at 16 I accept the call to ministry, and so like that was my path. And he's like, we want you to be the pastor of these 2 churches, and I was like,
How did he get in touch with you?
Well, so the way the Methodist system works is like when you want to become a minister or go into ministry, you go in front of your church and your church kind of like votes on you to say, okay, we will stand behind you. Then you write letters and you fill out paperwork and you send that to what they call the district, which is over a bunch of churches. And there's a district committee that interviews you and talks to you about like the next steps. And so like it's a huge process. In the Methodist church, it takes a long time to be ordained. So you can serve churches before you're ordained. But it took me until, 9 years to be ordained.
Wow.
So it's a long process. So I was in the system and I was going to school at Lambeth University in Jackson, Tennessee. And he calls me and he's like, hey, so we want you to be this pastor. And I'll never forget. I was like, so what do I do? like what does a pastor do? And he's like, well, you're going to preach and you're going to do some baptisms. You'll do weddings, you'll do funerals, and you're just going to be in charge of these 2 churches. And I said, I still remember this because, back then we had the phone on the wall. So I was like, I'm going to have to call you back. And he's like, oh, okay. I was like, I need to go ask my parents' permission. Because at 18, like what do you really say? I mean, I didn't know. I was like, I need to ask my parents' permission. So I like went to the room. I was like, this guy calls me and he wants me to be the pastor of these 2 churches. And they're like, okay, that's what you want to do. So I call him back and I was like, sweet, when do I start? And he's like, well, you're going to start in the middle of June. And I was like, yeah, that's not going to work. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, a buddy and I have been planning this trip. And we're leaving June 10th or June 11th. And we're driving around the country for 6 weeks. So I can't start until I get back. And he was like, okay, well, when you get back, you can start.
Wow.
So my buddy and I, we got in an old 1995 Chevy truck. And we put a red camper on top of it. We had our 2 kayaks on top, bicycles on the back. We had camping gear. We had cooking gear. We had extra gallons of gas. We had clothing. We just drove. The first day we drove all the way to Colorado, and we stayed outside of Colorado at this rest stop. And now from Milan, Tennessee to Colorado is a long way. And, at one point, I remember seeing the sign that says 599 miles to Colorado. And here we are, 2 18-year-old kids, like trying to figure the world out. And we get to Colorado and we're staying at this rest stop. And the next morning we get up, we're cooking breakfast. And we went into the gas station or the bathroom to brush our teeth. And this guy pulls up and it's in an old VW van. Okay. And he's like, hey, you boys need any weed? And I'll never forget, like I sit next to Matt and I looked over and there was this old van that was like, they were sleeping next to us. Like, we don't, but they may.
Yeah.
And so he just drives off. And then these people that were staying in this van, they come out of the bathroom and they're sitting there and we're cooking and they're like, hey, what are you boys doing? They're like, oh, we're just on a trip for the next 6 weeks. We don't know what we're doing. And I was like, what are y'all doing? They're like, oh, we're on the way to Vegas to start a church. And I remember like, oh my God, I just clearly judged these people based on their appearance, you know, and their van and they're going to Vegas to start a church. I'm hoping I would love, I'm sure they're successful, but I don't have a clue.
Do you remember what they looked like?
No.
Okay. You didn't try and find
They were
them.
they were just two hippies. They were, you know, married couple out starting a church. But every day, him and I would flip a quarter to see which direction we were going to go. Like we had no plans. If we saw a hitchhiker, we picked him up. We drove one hitchhiker 350 miles to Green Valley or Green Mountain State Park or something. I mean, it was beautiful. Mm-hmm. But we traveled all over the country, Canada, Mexico, ended up coming back sometime in late July. And then the first or second Sunday of August was my first Sunday. And then the next week was my birthday. But I was 18 and on first Sunday. And I get to the first church. And there was, like, besides me and my family, okay, if you take us out of the equation, there was 15 people there.
Wow.
And if you include me and those 15 people, take my family out, the average age was 77. And I was 18. And before church starts, the pianist says to me, hey, I just want you to know this is my last Sunday. I was like, oh. Well, who's going to play next Sunday? And she's like, I don't know. That's your job to figure out.
Oh, man.
Oh, okay. So I get going. Of course, you know, I've been in church my whole life. And we get to that point where we're going to say the pastor's prayer. So I say a prayer. I say amen, and we're done. And everybody just looks at me. Oh, yeah, the Lord's Prayer. I forgot. You're supposed to do the Lord's Prayer.
Oh, okay.
So, well, in our church, in the Methodist church, we do the Lord's Prayer. So we did the Lord's Prayer. It gets time for my sermon. So I have a sermon written out, my very first sermon. So I get done preaching my sermon, and I said, and that's all I know about Jesus. Let's pray. Those exact words. That's all I know about Jesus. Let's pray. And I fixed to be these people's pastor.
Yeah.
Guess, you want to know how long that sermon was?
Oof. Oh, hold on. Let me guess.
Okay.
18 minutes?
Nope.
Shorter or longer?
Shorter.
5 minutes?
Shorter than that. 2 minutes and 47 seconds.
Did you time yourself?
No, somebody else did.
Oh, all right.
So,
do you still have that sermon written down somewhere?
No.
Okay.
No. But I mean, I love that sermon actually because I when we got ready to go on our trip, I bought a brand new pair of Vask hiking boots.
Okay.
The very first day we're going to go on a hike out in Colorado, I never wore them. I took the tags off, put them on, and we're fixing to start a 6-week journey of like hiking and kayaking.
Yeah, that's not how you do it.
I got blisters everywhere.
Yeah.
So the title of my sermon was, Never Go Hiking with New Hiking Boots. And it was, you know, for me, it was important because like, here we are, I'm starting something new and I'm going to get a lot of blisters because I didn't know what I was doing. Mm-hmm. I had no clue. So I leave that I had 2 churches. So that one was supposed to be from 9 to 10.
Is that a usual thing to have?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
more than
Methodist pastors are, you know, they're circuit riders basically. So early on, the Methodist churches were everywhere. There was more Methodist churches than there were post office early on in the, you know, when Methodism first started spreading throughout the area. Yeah. In fact, many post offices early on were inside Methodist churches. Huh. Which is kind of an interesting thing, but most of them were small because they would just put them in little communities everywhere. Mm-hmm. So it's still a tradition to have multiple churches. Now, some people, if they're big churches, they just have one. But I leave that church and I go to my next church, and I get there, and there's more people there. It's probably like 18. But growing up, I'd always worked. I started working when I was, 12 years old, probably 10 years old. In the summer times, I would go help people carry shingles up on roofs because I just loved to work. And then when I was 12, I started working at Greenway Nursery. And then when I was 16, I started working at Sears, selling appliances, delivering appliances, stuff like that. But my boss's name was Gary. And Gary was a black man. Mm-hmm. And I never thought anything of it. My family, we were always around black people. Like, no racism anywhere in my family. Like, my grandfather, every Tuesday when I was growing up, one of his best buddies, Jude, it was a black man, would drive him to my dad's office, and they would pick me up from school, and we would go and have lunch together. And, you know, so I never thought anything of it. Like, we grew up, my town was half black, half white. Never thought anything of it, okay? So I get to this church, and on the very first Sunday, I'm 18 years old. I just preached my first sermon, 2 minutes, 47 seconds. And I invited Gary. He was my boss, like from Sears. I love this man. Gary Lou Jenkins is his name. And he walks in, and he's going to sit with my family, and I'm introducing myself. And this lady looks at me, and this man looks at me, and she says, "Those people aren't welcome here." And I said, "I'm so sorry, my family's here. That's my family." And he's like, "Your family can stay, but that black man, he's not welcome here." And I had no idea what to say. And so these are the words that came out of my mouth. "If you would like to leave, you're more than welcome. But he's with me." It was like a defining moment in my ministry. The first Sunday, here's somebody who was so important to me, they wanted to exclude. Yeah. And they never came back. They got up and left. They never came back to church. I couldn't tell you their name if I wanted to. But it was a hard moment for me to see that not everybody in church is there with intentions. Now, of course, you know, Jesus said, "I didn't come for the well, I came for the sick." You know, and so it was also a reminder that we oftentimes look at people who make mistakes in churches, who fail, who get divorces, who go to prison, who do stupid things, who say stupid things. Oh, they're in church, they should be better than that. No, they're in church, they're there to get better. They're not there because they're better. Yeah. You know,
we're all already sick. That's why we're there.
100%. Yeah. And that's, you know, go back to what you said earlier with the grace. And I think that's, you know, but it did teach me, very quickly that being a pastor isn't just about preaching, and it's not just about doing funerals. It's about trying your best to help people who are sick, just like you are. And, you know, I was the pastor there for 3 years, my sophomore, junior, and senior years. And then I moved across the state when I graduated from college, and that's how I ended up in East Tennessee. Became a pastor at 2 small churches in East Tennessee. Sunbright, which is a town of 600. Have you ever heard of Sunbright?
No, where is it?
It's north of Oak Ridge, Tennessee, north of Wartburg. And
Oak Ridge is over by Knoxville, right?
Yeah. Okay. So you go Knoxville, then you go Oak Ridge, then you go Wartburg, and then Sunbright. That's the little town I lived in. And I was a pastor there, but I had 2 churches. So Sunbright and then Rugby Road. Now Rugby, if you've never been to Rugby, y'all need to take a field trip there. It's an old English settlement. So like these people came over from England and wanted to create this English settlement. And it's still like today you can go in there and get like straight up food from England, like rabbit stew and stuff like that. But
that's cool. Yes. Write it down, Brian.
Yeah, Rugby,
Tennessee.
Road, yeah.
Oh,
Rugby, Tennessee, but Rugby Road was the name of the church because it was on the road to Rugby. Yeah, imagine that. Yeah. But so I had these little churches, and I drove 3 hours to seminary each week. So seminary was Asbury Theological Seminary up in Wilmore, Kentucky. And so Highway 27, which used to be the main corridor in America before 75 and 40 and 81, all the interstates were built. So 27 is where I would drive up every Monday. I would drive up to
3
school.
hours?
Yeah. So I would stay.
One way?
Yeah. So I would stay. Well, I'd stay there Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night.
Oh, okay.
And then I would drive back after class on Thursday. And I was a pastor Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then Monday I would drive back, and I did that for 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah. It was quite the journey. I mean, you know, becoming a pastor, going to seminary and being ordained. And that's where I met Roger Galloway. Roger is this cool man. You know, he is married to Jane, and Jane and Roger had 2 daughters. And when I first moved there, like Roger came over and helped me fix some things. And he asked me one day, he's like, "What is something you want to do?" And I was like, I always wanted to fly an airplane. And that was all that was said. And Roger and Jane, they knew I was poor as all could be. And, you know, here I am, a single, 20-something-year-old trying to live in a town of 600 and go back and forth. And I didn't have my family. They lived in Milan. And my uncle lived in Morristown, so he'd come over and see me every once in a while. But they would take me out to eat. And I loved it because, you know, here they had plenty of resources to pay for it, you know. And then if they found out I was going on a date, he would give me like that $25-50 handshake so I could like go on a real date, you know. Yeah. So one day Roger calls me and he's like, "Lou, I heard what you said, and here's this guy's name and number. His name's Ryan Heil. You have an appointment tomorrow morning at the Oneida Airport. I'm going to pay for half your flying lessons.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so I went out and met Ryan, and during seminary, learned how to fly an airplane. It was incredible. And I think about, like, Roger asked me another thing. He's like, what else do you want to do? I was like, I've always wanted to jump out of an airplane. He's like, perfect, let's go. I mean, and I think he was in his 60s at this point. We drove down to Atlanta and we both jumped out of airplanes together.
Wow.
You know, but I look back on that and I don't know why he did that, but to have somebody invest in you, like, changes your life.
For sure.
Because if somebody outside of your family believes in you and wants to help you succeed, imagine now I look at people that I want to help succeed. Because we always say pay it forward or whatever word you want to use. Yeah. But to know that he, did that was pretty incredible. And yesterday I actually got to fly with my son yesterday. I was sitting in the back seat. I haven't flown in 20 years.
Do you still have your license?
I mean, you technically always have your license.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't go fly an airplane until I got, kind of recertified and checked out. But to sit back there and all of a sudden it came back. I was sitting there and my son pulled the yoke back for the first time and we began to take off. And all I could think about was, like, Roger and Jane, like, they believed in me. And I still, to this day, they send me cards, at Christmas and they call me on my birthday. And those are people that, I met when I was young and dumb. I'm sure you've met people when you were young and dumb that still check on you.
Yep.
2005, I'm just telling you my whole life story.
Wait, hold on. Before you do that, can you turn the heat up a little bit? Are you cold?
Oh, it's really cold in here.
I am freezing.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bri.
I was just wondering, I was like, I probably should have wore long sleeves. And I was looking over you with your sweater or sweatshirt, and I'm like, well, she's lucky.
Well, I mean, it is supposed to be like, I think in the 50s or 60s today. No. But yeah, no, it's, okay.
Yeah.
All right. You're good. You're good. Keep going. Keep
going.
All right. Sorry.
So in 05.
Life story. Go.
Yeah. So here you go. In 05, I was with my buddy Matt. Matt's the guy I rode the country with. He's been my best friend for a long time.
What's Matt doing now? Do you guys still talk?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So Matt is, he's a lawyer down in Chattanooga. And he wears flip-flops to his office every day.
Nice.
And they're not just like real flip-flops. Like one, like, maybe is a rainbow flip-flop and the other one might be from Walmart. They don't even match.
Oh, okay.
He puts duct tape on his clothing and he's a successful lawyer. And his boss one day said to him, he said, is that duct tape on your jacket? And he's like, absolutely. I've had this jacket for 25 years. You don't think I'd get rid of it because it got a little tear in it, do you? He's that kind of lawyer.
Cool. Gets it done.
Yeah, he gets it done. So we travel every year together. We go fishing together. We go snowboarding together. This past summer we went to Uttila with our families together and just had a great time. So Matt's always been around. But I drove down to Chattanooga to see him, and actually I might have flown down there. I can't remember, because I would fly down my plane that I was renting, and it was back then it was real cheap.
Yeah.
But so I'm down there, and we drove by a Harley Davidson ship dealer, and I was like, I would love to save some money on gas. I should get a motorcycle. Now, why he didn't say, no, you're not going to save money, but he was like, that's a great idea. So we pulled in that Harley Davidson dealership, and they had this bright yellow Harley Davidson, and they had this bright orange jacket. I'm like, perfect. I was like, can we, if I buy this, can y'all put extra loud pipes on it? I want people to hear me so I don't get, it's not dangerous. And they were like, oh yeah. Matt, the whole time was just, that's a great idea, Lou. So February of 2005, I bought a brand new Harley Davidson.
Yellow Harley Davidson.
Yellow.
Did you get the orange jacket?
Oh, 100%.
Okay, good.
And the loud pipes.
All right.
And so I'm test driving this thing after I bought it because they were going to put some accessories on it. And sure enough, fell over in the parking lot. First.
Yeah. That's a common thing though, right?
Yeah.
Brian, that's a common thing because Brian used to ride, he used to have a motorcycle.
Oh, okay.
And that's a common thing, right? Of people when they first get their motorcycles, or I remember when I was young, We were at a stoplight, and it was me and my dad. And there was a gentleman in front of us that was at the stoplight, brand new bike, and he had like literally had fallen over. And so my dad was like, shoot. So like he put it into park and like got out and, helped the guy get the bike back up. And then he was like, are you okay? And then he's like, I'll follow you for a little bit or something. We just like kind of followed the guy for a little bit to make sure he was good. And then like we went on our way. But it's just like, it's a funny thing with motorcycles. So it's not uncommon. I'm sure it's a statistic we can look up.
I'm sure it is. I bought that thing and I put it on a trailer because after that I was like, I'm gonna trailer this thing to a parking lot. And I went to a church parking lot in Ottawa, Tennessee, Ottawa United Methodist Church. You ever heard of Ottawa?
No.
It's right outside of Chattanooga. And I drove around that parking lot for 2 hours, getting comfortable.
Yeah,
and then I would go a little bit further and then back a little bit, and so that was in February of 2005, excuse me.
Cold. That's kind of a cold time to ride.
Yeah. But I had that leather jacket. I had leather gloves.
Right.
I mean, I had chaps. Yeah. I had the whole 9 yards. I mean, I was
the
ready.
Pipes were blowing out some.
Oh yeah. I mean, I looked like that guy that never driven a motorcycle in his life, ridden a motorcycle. So I was driving it back and forth to school, and I did save a ton of money on gas because things burn hardly anything, and it was 3 hours each way, and so I decided I'm gonna go visit my parents, and I didn't tell anybody about a motorcycle, ain't nobody except Matt. Mm-hmm. So I drove from Lexington, Kentucky on a Tuesday, I think, and I drove to Milan, Tennessee, and pulled up in the driveway. My parents.
How far is that?
It's probably like 5.5 hours.
Oh, okay.
And I pull up, and my dad thinks it's one of his old buddies until I take my helmet off. And then my mother's like, what did you do? And my dad's like, yeah, because he had driven motorcycles his whole life. And so, my dad takes it out for a spin. And like, I'm so excited. I drove to my aunt's house, Aunt Harriet. Like, I look up to her. Like, she was like that aunt that took care of me when I was little. She became a pilot. She rode 3-wheelers. She hunted. She's done it all. And like, I kind of like, I want to be her. Like you have like that family member that you look at their life and you're like, yes, that's the life I want. Mm-hmm. And that was her. And then it was Good Friday, 2005. So March 25th, 2005. And I had to preach that night. And so I got up that morning and went to Nashville, had lunch with a friend of mine, Jennifer Mills. We had been friends forever. And I got back on the road and I wanted to take Highway 70 instead of the interstate home. And I missed the turn. I couldn't find it. So I pulled over next to the Titan Stadium and I asked a police officer. In fact, the police officer was working a motorcycle wreck. This is kind of crazy to think about. And I said, I'm looking for Highway 70. Can you tell me how to get there? And he told me, and that's the last thing I remember. I was evidently, according to witnesses, I was sitting in a turning lane waiting to get into a gas station, and a truck pulled out of the gas station and ran me over.
Oh man!
And so March 25th, 2005, I was hit by the truck, destroyed my motorcycle, I had a full helmet, cracked it completely in half, and burnt my right leg and broke every bone of my hip, my femur, or not my hip, my femur, my tibia, fibula, all the bones of my feet, and spent 6 months in a wheelchair.
Wow.
And it was tough.
So you don't you don't even remember waiting to turn.
No.
You just got taken out, and then did you wake up in the hospital?
Woke up in the hospital. I remember waking up and there was like something around my neck. I remember trying to grab it, like I couldn't figure out where I was or what was going on. And they were like,
"It's got to feel weird."
They were like, "You need to calm down."
Yeah.
And then the next day I remember waking up from surgery. But a couple of the stories from that moment. About a year later, I went back to the gas station, and I just wanted to like see if I could remember it. And I walked in and I said to the clerk, I was like, "Hey, a year ago, there was a motorcycle wreck. Do you remember that?" And they were like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Well, tell me about it." And the guy was like, "Well, I never saw the wreck. All I could hear was the screaming coming from the man that was laying on the ground, and we thought he was gonna die." And I was like, "Why?" And he was like, "Because he was in so much pain." I was like, "Well, that was me." And I pulled up my leg and I showed him the hole. I still have a hole in my leg. And my parents, I just gotten cell phones weren't new. So, but I had evidently the nurse had asked me my mother's name, and my mother's name is Jane. And guess who the first Jane they called was? Roger and Jane. They didn't call my mother Jane.
Yeah.
And my Jane was like, no, you called the wrong Jane. But I think they either had my number or her number. Or somehow they call mother. And my mother, they were like, hey, we're at Vanderbilt Hospital, and your son's been in a motorcycle wreck. He's alive, but we're gonna have to cut his leg off. And mother's said, well, you do whatever you gotta do to save his leg. And my dad's an eye doctor, and I guess she waited till he's done with that patient, and she tells him, and my parents, they got in the car, and my sister works for them, and they drove to Nashville, but they called a girl named Christy. Christy was, like, when I was a little kid, like, she was my sister's best friend, and she lived in Nashville. In fact, Christy was the first girl I ever took on a date. It wasn't a real date. I thought it was when I was a little kid, but she was just being nice. But I took her to Pizza Hut and paid for it.
Ooh, Pizza Hut.
Yeah. Christy came, and they let her in the emergency room, and I don't remember this at all, but this is a story she tells. She says that the nurse kept saying, Lou, like, how bad's the pain? And all I would say is, it's not that bad. And they were like, but you got to give us a scale, like 1 to 10, how bad's bad? And and all I'd say is just, it's not that bad. Now you got to think about it. My leg, I broke every bone in it. Like, the bottom part of my leg was going the wrong way. Like, it was burnt.
Yeah.
Clearly it was painful. And they finally said, well, why is it not that bad? And I just said, because Jesus is with me, and God is with me. And so it's not that bad. And then she said, I reached up and I grabbed her hand. I don't remember this. And I said, you need to lay hands on me right now and pray for me. And she's like, here I came to the hospital to take care of you. And, the story she's saying is, she's like, and then you reached up and was like, pray for me, and like, I look back on that and I think about that all the time. No matter what I'm going through in life, it's not that bad. Why? Because God is with me. And I don't remember saying that. I'm thankful that somebody told me I did. But no matter what's happened since then, that's what I think. It ain't that bad.
Yeah.
No matter how painful something is, no matter how much you make a mistake, no matter what you've went through, no matter, divorce was awful, right? Like, making mistakes is awful, but it ain't that bad.
Yeah.
Why? Because God is with me. Jesus is with me. I spent 6 months in a wheelchair, and it was a long 6 months because I had to move back into my parents' house. I had the freedom of living.
How old were you at this point?
I was 20.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I guess I was older than that. 2005 to 81, that's 23, 24. I can't do math evidently right now.
It's all right. Only it's not multiplication.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
It's not your strong suit.
So I guess I was 23.
You were in your 20s.
Yeah. And I've been living on my own since, for a while. And here I am moving back into college, back into my parents' house, and had to rely on my mom to help me go to the bathroom. And, I couldn't take care of my churches anymore. So they had to send somebody to take care of my churches while I was gone. I had to finish my classes. Like, once I got better, I could finish my classes online, but that was horrible too, but it gave him a great time. My dad drove me to school. Like, I say he had to drive me to school so I could take finals, and, I never wish that upon my kids, but I promise if they need me to drive them to school again, one day I will.
Yeah.
That was a hard year.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2005. So it was 21 years ago.
Yeah.
But I learned a lot, from them, having a motorcycle wreck, and my buddy Matt, he's like, you ever gonna quit talking about that? I'm like, I can't. I hurt every day when I wake up. I have to. I'm in so much pain when I first start walking because it still hurts.
Yeah.
But I use that no matter where I go, what I'm going through. I use that because, even if I've been hurting for 20, 25 years, right, or 20 years, 21 years, every day, but it's not gonna slow me down. Why would I let it slow me down?
Yeah.
I can either hurt doing nothing or I can hurt doing everything.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. There was a woman. So I grew up in the Midwest. And then we moved to the Northeast before my junior year of high school, which, in hindsight wasn't that big a deal. But if you're a sophomore in high school and your parents are like, we're moving to a completely different state on a different part of the country. Let's go have some fun. Yeah. I wasn't too thrilled about it. At the time, I was like, what are you doing to me? So we moved to the Northeast. I actually met Brian in high school. We were best friends in high school, but we didn't date. And so and it's so funny because like there's a couple core people in my life that I'm still friends with to this day. And I met them when I moved, which is funny. But there's this woman, and it's so funny. You've gotten me twice today. So before my senior year of high school, my parents moved again. I don't know why I'm crying so much. It's because you got me emotional today, Lou. So it was my senior year, and God was like, I'm not done with you here yet. Your parents are going to move, but you can't. And I was like, what? I'm just, 17-year-old kid. You're not done with me? What the heck does that mean? I didn't even want to be here in the first place. Like, I don't want to stay in this place. I want to move and get out of here. Like I was like, I don't want to stay. And I was like, dang it. All right. Okay, God. So I went to my parents and I was like, I'm not supposed to move. I don't really know what that looks like for you guys. But so my neighbor at the time was this like 75-year-old woman, Laura. This is crazy. Brian's like, yes, this is going to be good for the podcast. Leah's losing it. Kidding. So you're reminding me of this because she would wake up every day and take care of people who were dying. And she would get up and she would say, hey, you're in pain. Are you living or dying today? So it was really cool because like my senior year, my parents paid for me to live with her, which was like, gosh, I'm like 18 years old living with this 70-year-old woman who just gets up. And even on like tough days for me of like, why the heck does God have me here? Or like, what am I doing? I don't want to live here. Like I want to be with my family, like all those things. And she'd be like, well, are you going to live or die today?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, Laura, I'm going to live. Typical high school, like, in the 90s. Yeah. Okay, I'll go put on some Silverchair and drive myself to school. Yeah. So it's just really funny. So that just reminded me, like, of those moments, that you said. It's like, we have some of those moments, and it's like, that's really cool. So here we go.
Here we go.
Let's just edit all of that out because I'm a mess now. Brian. It's all right.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that
I think this would be a perfect time for Beth. In her what is her business called? The new one from women.
Yeah.
This segment was brought to you by Beth Jinks at Pro Compounding Pharmacy. If you're in your 40s and you start crying out of random moments, you need to reach out to Beth Jinks. She will take care of you.
It's like perimenopause at its finest.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that and coupled with like not much sleep last night. Gosh, no, but you know what? Anything that comes to like God, it gets me. Anyways, like I'm a crier to begin with, but yeah, total perimenopause moment. And then, our son came into our bedroom at what time? What was that? Like 1 o'clock this morning, and he was just like, "Hey guys,
what's happening?
Can we be awake?" And we were like, "No." No. Looking at the clock, like, gosh. So it's funny because my mom will watch this and then she'll be crying with me because, she'll be like, and then everybody will laugh maybe Beth will watch it and then she'll be like, yeah. I just got a lot of blood work done. I got to give it to Beth so she can like analyze it. So anyways, there we go.
When Beth analyzes you learn something. I can promise you that, whether it's mentally or physically. Sometimes she'll call me and
myself right now, anyways.
She'll say,
is cracking.
She'll say, "I need to tell you something." Oh gosh, what do you need to tell me today? Because I know I'm going to learn something.
Yeah, but she has like her voice though. It's just so great. Who has the best voice ever is Audrey.
Oh yeah,
who's in our class? Like if I ever have something wrong with me, I want Audrey to deliver that information because she has like literally the best voice of all time.
When she speaks on there, I'm like, oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, I just gotta close my eyes. Where is Audrey right now? Yeah. Well, and that's how we met though. We met you at one of because we're in a cohort together. We're all learning about how to successfully use AI and integrate it into our marketing.
Yeah, y'all sat next to me.
We sat next
front
to
row
you.
because I'm a front row kind of guy.
And then we were like, wow, smash meals, because I have a gluten intolerance.
Yeah.
And so we don't have gluten in our house. And I was like, oh my gosh, we got to talk to this guy. And then you also offer a discount to our tenants at Gumball Properties. And so like, it's really cool, because we actually have a girl that moved into one of our houses recently. And she was like, I was like, hey, tell me a little bit about yourself, because we like to know if, we can either have a lot of involvement with our tenants or none at all, whatever they want. But a lot of times if it's somebody like she's relocating here, and so it's like, hey, I need a church. Okay, here you go. Here are a couple of churches. Try these out. Let me know if you like them. Oh, I need a gym. Here you go. Here are some local restaurants. Like it's really cool that we have the opportunity to offer discounts to our tenants. And she was like, oh, I have a gluten allergy. And I was like, girl, I got you.
That's right.
Smash meals. Here you go. And so it's just really cool to be able to partner together like that too, because we love just partnering with other local businesses. That it's just really cool. It's just, and I've talked about this before, that the business culture here is so inviting, and nothing is threatening. Like nobody feels threatened by what business you do. And it's cool to have the collaboration. And then we were like, hey Lou, would you mind giving our tenants a discount? And you were like, sure, let's do it. Here you go.
Whatever.
And we were like, oh, okay, cool.
Why not?
Yeah. And so it's just really fun. And then we got to partner together with you for the hurricane relief stuff. That was really cool. And
that was amazing.
That was like in and of itself, you were pulled in so many different directions than you normally are anyways. So like, are you still involved in any of that?
It's funny you say that. So, I don't know, when did that happen? October of 2024. And that was on a Friday. And that Sunday I found a way to get to Asheville, North Carolina. It took me 5 hours, which is normally like an hour, full of supplies, and dropped them off at a friend of mine's house so that she could distribute them from there. And she wasn't even there because she was stuck at the hospital. She was a nurse, right? And I remember like knocking on her door after 5.5 hours, and her son comes to it, and he's like, Lou, how did you get here? I was like, I don't have a clue. Now I got to figure out how to get back. I don't even know how I got here.
Yeah.
I kept turning down roads, and there'd be a bridge washed out. And I'd turn down another road. There'd be half the road washed out. And my son was with me, and, we navigated and figured it out.
Yeah.
But through that, I was able to help so many thousands and thousands of people with food and gas and diapers and wipes and bottles of water. And a friend of mine, her name is Cindy. Cindy's mom would see stuff I put on the internet, and Cindy's mom would send Cindy money, who would send it to me, who then I would go spend it, and I would thank her, because there was a lot of people that helped me with that. I mean, I spent a lot of my own money, but people helped me, to be able to pull that off, like y'all showing up and delivering and helping pack and do all that. So Cindy's mom lives in West Virginia, and so every once in a while Cindy will call me, and she's like, hey, your mom wants to know if you're doing anything. I'm like, I do stuff all the time, I just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
And she's like, all right, she's sending you some money. So then every time Cindy's mom sends it, she sends it to Cindy sends it to me, and then I'll make a video or I'll make a post so that Cindy's mom knows what the money's going towards. So our most recent money that she sent me, well, not the most recent because that was here, but about a few months ago, we went back to one of the areas we worked in, and over in the Green Mountain area, and we took $1,000 worth of Christmas toys.
Oh, cool.
And just dropped them off at the local fire department and said, y'all do whatever you want with it. Y'all know who needs help. And I mean, that was amazing. Just, having people trust me to bless others, that's been that from the hurricane. That was something that just kept blowing my mind, because people from Texas, Oklahoma, California, Colorado, Oregon, Idaho, Indiana, Illinois, Virginia, Kentucky, West Virginia, Tennessee, Mississippi. There was a church in Mississippi that sent me $5,000.
Wow.
And they were like, just go and give it away. And I went and bought $5,000 worth of propane. That's a lot of propane.
It's a lot of propane,
but
necessary. I mean, there's so many people that was one of the major things that people needed.
Yeah. And just to have people trust me to go and do God's work. And we look back, and just like that lady, right? somebody trusted that lady your parents trusted her to take care of you, but she was then trusted to take care of other people. And that probably wasn't the only thing that she did. That's just what stood out in your mind. Right. And so hurricane relief is not the only thing I do, but some people know me just as the hurricane relief guy. Somebody called one of the guys in my church, and they were like, hey, we're on the way to Tennessee from Indiana, and we heard that there was that guy that was helping people. And they were like, what guy? And they were like, that guy. And they figured out it was me, but they just knew me as that guy. They drove from Indiana to Tennessee because they heard about that guy. Yeah. And I'm like, and it's weird for me to hear people think about it like that, because like I'm just doing what God tells me to do. Like, and to be trusted through that is a big deal, and we all have those moments in our lives where, and I hope we do, where we are entrusted to do something great. We're entrusted to do something small. We're entrusted to do something big. Yeah. But we have to go and do it. I think a lot of times I'm working with this guy in my church right now, and he is like the best friendship evangelist out there, but he doesn't always make the next step. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you got to take him to the next step. It's one thing to be called to do something, but it's another thing to go do it.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And I think there's huge disconnect in our society of people who know they're called, mm-hmm. but they don't do it.
I think they're scared.
Yeah.
And they don't know, like, they don't have, like, they don't have somebody around them to be like, take the dive or do this. And I think that they just get scared and they get in their own head. And then just with the way that our society is, it's so self-serving. And so it's really anti God's message, right? Because it's not, God's message is completely upside down. It's not self-serving. It's, they're serving. And so like our society, like we become so selfish. Yeah. And so I think that's people's problems, is that they're in their head and they're like, oh, I can't do that because then somebody else might see it, or social media or something else. And then like, I might lose my job, or I might, and then they just kind of spiral, and then they talk themselves out of it. So
it's almost like you were at my church last Sunday. Cause when I was in the 6th grade, I preached on this last Sunday, we had the self-esteem day, and I know they meant well. Yeah. But we had this whole day set aside to boost our self-esteem, right? And they brought in speakers, they brought in like all this stuff. And they were like, you can do it. You can believe in yourself. You can work harder. You can be smarter. You can be wiser. You can be stronger if you just believe in yourself and you have self-esteem, whatever. Yeah. The very next Sunday, so like that was on a Thursday or Friday, I go to church on Sunday. My preacher stands in the pulpit and says, you're never going to be smart enough. You're never going to be strong enough. You're never going to be wise enough. You're never going to have enough money. And once you realize that, then you can count on God, and God will pick you up and you can do it. And I remember in my mind being a 6th grader and thinking, okay, my school tells me that I'll be smart enough, strong enough, wise enough. I can do anything that I believe in. And my preacher tells me I cannot. Yeah. Because in that moment you have to count on God. And so I go to my preacher and I'm like, you're going to tell me. And he's like, well, society means well. Mm-hmm. But what God wants is you to realize you cannot do it on your own. You're never going to have enough money. You're never going to be strong enough, smart enough, wise enough, look good enough, whatever. And once you realize that and you start counting on God, God's going to lead you, mm-hmm. right? Because then you focus on God. But school is trying to help you to be smart enough, but the focus is the wrong direction. Yeah. Yeah, of course you want to study. Of course you want to work out. Of course you want to do all these things. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you're never going to be good enough. Mm-hmm. And that's where Jesus was sent. Mm-hmm. Jesus was sent to make that connection because we were never going to be good enough. Yeah. And once we realize that, it's like the little engine that could, I think I can. It's the wrong story we're teaching our children. Mm-hmm. It's not about I think I can. It's with God's help, I can. Mm-hmm. With God's direction, I can. With God's mm-hmm. love, I can forgive. Mm-hmm. With God's help, I can serve the needy, mm-hmm. But if you try to go do it on your own, you're going to fail. Yeah. And I truly believe that with all my heart, mm-hmm. that we teach our society wrong.
Mm-hmm. Well, our society isn't moral. So our society as a whole doesn't have that moral compass. And so they don't feel the creator in that sense. You know what I mean? Like they're not. So if you are not, which is funny because we're all bent towards that because of how we were created, how we're supposed to be. Mm-hmm. But every day we're fallen, obviously, because of Adam and Eve. That's how it started. So like we're already starting in the negative.
Yeah.
And so that is just where a lot of people are operating, and they're just never going to come from here because they can't. And society doesn't know how to handle that as a whole because they've just gone so awry. That's what I think. I don't know. Maybe we're getting pretty deep here, Lou.
I don't mind.
As long as I don't have another perimenopause moment where I just like, Brian's like, gosh, please, yes.
I don't know. I say release it. Just let it out.
Lose it uncontrollably.
What's that saying that the tears clean the soul? I used to make fun of my grandfather in my mind all the time because he would cry over everything. And then my dad started crying over everything. And then I realized I started crying over everything. Oh man, like what's going on with me? And I think you finally get to that moment, for me anyway, that it's okay to release.
Yeah. Well, crying has always been, if I'm happy, if I'm sad, if I'm stressed, if I'm frustrated, crying has always been there. And so the funny thing about going through perimenopause is that like, I mean, I'm already there all the time anyways. That's just how I operate in that emotional level of, I just got to cry it out and then I'll feel better. But I mean, it's just, it's just hilarious.
So a question I have for you, and if both of y'all had their mics on, I'd ask you both, but like, what do you think about smash meals? Like, besides the idea of it, like, what have you seen, like, as a business, as another entrepreneur? Like, what is something that you see as a positive, or something you maybe today you could teach me? Like, you could say, Lou, if you did this better, it might help your business.
Well, we've tried your food. We've had your food. Brian doesn't have a microphone, so you're going to have to just kind of talk through me, or I'll just talk for both of us. Brian doesn't like being on the microphone. He likes being behind the camera.
Oh, okay.
And we think you crush it. We think that the social media is fun. We've gotten to know you on a personal level though too, and so we just know your heart and we know how genuine you are. And I think that comes across through Smash Meals, is that it's not just something that you can order online or that you can go pick up at one of the gyms. Or I mean, you're in so many different locations too that you can just go and pick up. And I just think I think that you can feel the genuineness through everything that you do, and even because you've talked about. You told us before, when you go into different stores or gyms and stuff, you don't sell them. Like, you don't try and like do all these things. Like, you have a partnership with these businesses, right? And then you don't expect them to pay a lot of money. It's just things like that. Like, you just take care of people along the way. And so you can see that through all of Smash Meals.
Oh, thank you.
And you can feel it too when you're eating Smash Meals too.
Thank you.
And so do we have any advice for Lou? What? He's crushing it. I already said that, Brian.
Crushing it AI.
Yeah. Brian's actually having a perimenopause moment in the corner and he's crying too. No, kidding.
It's funny you said that. Yesterday I did a catering event for 90 people at Johnson City Eye Clinic. And my son said to me, he's like, a couple years ago, LB, or Dad, you would have freaked out if you had a 90-person catering event. He's like, today you didn't even think about it. We just did it. And so yesterday I reached out to one of the people that was there, and I just said, hey, thank you for letting me come and serve your clinic. They have 90 employees there, by the way. It's kind of crazy. And I had like a baked potato bar, a salad bar. I had grilled chicken that was kind of cut up so that you could put on the baked potato or the salad. And I made homemade ranch dressing and homemade white balsamic vinaigrette. And we had sour cream and butter that we whipped up, and I added a little bit of salt and honey to it, and I thought that'd be perfect. And so I said, how was it? And she's like, everybody loves it. Perfect. That's the normal answer you get.
Yeah.
On Facebook last night, I kind of posted a picture, of the 90. I was like, 90 people is no big deal. Whatever you got, we can take care of. The first comment was somebody who was there that ate the food, and they were like, that food's amazing. And I was like, oh, thank you. What was your favorite part? And she said, the salad with the chicken and the cookies. And I just laughed because I didn't even remember that I left cookies, but we make homemade cookies, chocolate chips, sugar cookies. We make all sorts of cookies. And I think a lot of people think gluten-free is horrible.
Yeah.
But
it used to be.
Until you try our gluten-free cookies, most people, you can't even tell. Like, if you really start thinking about it and it's gluten-free, then you can start picking up some of the different textures in them.
Yeah.
but it made me happy, like to know that was something. I didn't even think about it. Like, honestly, didn't even think about it, but she loved the salad. That made me happy.
Yeah.
Daisy, she makes the best salads when she's there. Like, it's amazing. My children are so different. Like, LB just wants to cut meat, cook some meat, and Daisy's over there making the salad, and she's putting the cucumbers and the tomatoes and then making it look all pretty. And it's amazing how different they are. But, I got to help somebody and I love that,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, gluten-free food. So I think I was living out west at the time. It was 2011, and I was just like feeling lethargic and I just didn't feel myself. And so I went to the doctor, and I was telling her, all my symptoms, and she was like, well, you might have a gluten intolerance. And I was like, okay. She's like, well, so let's cut out, breads and all that kind of stuff that has gluten in it, and then see how you feel. So I did. And then I went back, I don't know, probably did it for a month or two. And I was like, I feel great. I don't have any problems anymore. And she was like, well, then there you go. Just don't eat it anymore. And that was 2011. And at that point, I was traveling for work like constantly. I was out west, but I was literally coming to Florida like every week. And so I moved from Florida to Portland. And so the whole time I lived out west, I still lived on East Coast time because everybody that I spoke to was still on the East Coast. So I would get up at 2 or 3 in the morning and like start my day. And everyone thought I was crazy over there. But I was like, well, hey man, I mean, everything operates over there. That's like, where I'm at right now. So it was just funny. So then traveling, it was really difficult to find gluten-free options. And so the only option I had was to go to the grocery store and get my own like food. And then the company I was working for, I was like, I got to book a hotel that has a kitchen because I need to be able to cook my own food because like I can't go to these restaurants. They don't know what the heck I'm talking about. They don't know what gluten-free is. Yeah. And then I don't know when the trend started changing, probably like 2018, 2019, people were like, oh, gluten. Okay. Gluten-free. And then I would say like post-COVID, it's really changed a lot. And then now, it used to maybe be like this big in a grocery store or like one shelf. Yeah. And it was like, your cardboard. It was not good option.
It was terrible back in the day.
It was really bad.
We sell at a natural foods market as well now.
Yeah.
And that was
cool.
That was kind of a cool thing for me. We've been around 8 years, and then to be invited into a grocery store to sell food and to have pickup location. Yeah. But man, they have so much good food that you can take home and buy, make yourself. I've recently learned that tapioca flour is really good for making a roux for tomato soup. If you're ever, because a lot of times you get coconut flour, almond flour, but tapioca makes the best roux for a piece of advice. So.
Well, that's good to know. Yeah. Yeah. Because coconut flour and almond flour, coconut flour is dense, especially. That's a tough one. I always keep some tapioca in my cupboard because there's a really good recipe for, I think they're called Brazilian cheddar bread. Have you ever had that?
I've never had that.
It's just tapioca flour and basically like cheese and eggs. I'll have to send you the recipe because it's really, really good and only a few ingredients. So it's pretty easy to make.
Let's check that out.
Yeah.
I tell you, I've learned a lot. Owning a kitchen that makes gluten-free, I have to think 7 days in advance. Like, okay, so if I make something, somebody's going to eat it 7 days from now. And that's really hard when you're making like breads or something like that because it's really good the first 2 days, 3 days, but then further out, it's not great. Yeah. But cottage cheese has been like a huge game changer for me on a lot of the things that we've been making because it's really good 7 days later.
Yeah.
That's a interesting thing about owning a meal prep company.
Yeah.
Because you're not eating food for people to present. Here's your beautiful table. Yeah. Here it is right now. Eat it. It's good. Yeah. You're like, it's going to be good when you warm it up. Yeah. You know how hard it is to learn to cook a steak somebody's gonna warm up 6 days later and it still be good. How long did that take
you to figure that out?
A long time. We went through so many cuts of meat and so many ways to cut it and how should we trim it and still we fail sometimes, But in order to have a good piece of meat 7 days later, it needs to be a sirloin or a fillet because you got to get all the fat off. And if you try a ribeye, it's gonna be hard. And you can only cook it to about 130. Because if you cook it to 140 or 145 and they put it in the microwave, it's going to be chewy. So a lot of our customers, when they first get our steak and they cut into it, they're like, this is not done. I'm like, go ahead and put it in the microwave. and warm it up and then call me back. And they're like, how did you get that steak to be soft and chewy? I'm like, well, it marinates for 24 hours. Then I only cook it to 130 degrees, and there's like so many different steps that you never even think about when you're meal prepping. I think a lot of people fail when they meal prep because they find 1 or 2 recipes and that's all they cook ever. And then they're tired of it. For smash meals, we realized that in the first month.
Yeah.
And so
you guys have a great variety all the time.
12-week running menu. You're never going to have the same thing in 12 weeks. And so I think for some people that's frustrating because they get one food they really like, they want it on the menu again, and it's not going to be on there for 3 months. But for everybody else, they're like, oh, I love it. I'm never eating the same thing, week after week.
Yeah. And I think that you hit the nail on the head, because a lot of times when people are like, oh, I'm going to start meal prepping, and they carve out their Sunday or whatever day they do, and they just like meal prep for the week. And it's like, you just made chicken and rice and broccoli for that week. And then the next week and you go and do it, you might be tired of that chicken, rice, and broccoli. But that is another thing that you guys do really well, is changing it up. And I can't imagine how hard it is. I mean, as a mom who cooks all the time, I do understand from that standpoint, because it's like, oh my gosh, trying to figure out what these little boys eat, because, we're in that 4 and 5-year-old phase of, actually, it's really cute. Our 4-year-old at this point, if it's not, I mean, he's our dairy boy. If it's not like yogurt or milk, he doesn't really want it. Like he's just like, he just loves dairy. So his thing now, because his older brother, who's 5, has really started to try more things as he's gotten, he's 5. So he thinks he's older now. But our 4-year-old says, I'll eat it. I'll try it when I'm 5.
Yeah.
And then so last night I was like, okay, buddy, you're going to have a lot of food to try when you turn to 5 years old later this year. And he just kind of sat there and he was like, I don't know, in that moment, he was like, oh my gosh, what did I do to myself?
I'm in trouble.
We're just going to set up a giant table like this, and we're just going to put all this food out and be like, here you go. You're 5.
You're 5.
Enjoy.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. Have fun. No, it's just really cute though, but it's always fun to go through those we're trying to treasure those moments.
Don't forget.
With our dudes. It's not always easy in the moment. It's tough. I mean, we get asked all the time if they're twins too, because they're 4 and 5. Yeah. So, and sometimes it's easier. I just go, yep. Because it's, pretty much. I mean, they twin boys. I don't think they look that much alike, but they both look like this guy. I tell you,
they
mini
do,
Bryants literally look. That's right. You've met them.
Yeah,
and they look nothing like me.
I'm like, are you sure you were part of this?
Yeah. I was, but they're funny. They actually really love your protein balls and the protein bars.
Oh, I love that.
And anything they can grab with their hands, like that's their MO, because they just want to keep playing. So they just want to eat something quick, fast, and get some protein in them, and that's it. So besides dairy, Levi will eat those too.
Good.
Peanut butter.
We make like,
who doesn't like peanut butter and chocolate?
Yeah. Who doesn't? And it's got it's actually really good for you. I mean, some people stay away from it because it's got maybe a little bit high in carbs, but it's got a lot of protein. Yeah. We make hundreds of those things a week, and I think that's another thing. It's hard. Like you have we have certain menu items that stay on there every week, and like I have to remind myself every week, oh, I need to make sure somebody's making that, because if you don't, then all of a sudden it's crunch time, and we might make 1,000 meals that week. I cannot forget the other things that we have to have every single week.
Yeah.
And I know that people at Walmart, they laugh at me because we order our oats, but every once in a while I'm like, oh, I wonder if we have enough. And so I just grab like random things of oat-facing oats. And it's like every time I go to Walmart, I have a thing of, and I know that people are like, I wonder how many oats that man eats. Yeah. And it's just like, I don't want to run out, because when you run out as a business owner, it's frustrating.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, they just did a study on, I can't remember where. I think it might have been Germany. They had a bunch of people who did nothing but oatmeal for 2 days a week, I think, for every single meal. They had 10 ounces of oatmeal, and they only had fruit, and I think it was just fruits and vegetables in the oatmeal. And it literally helped every single one that did that study. It lowered their cholesterol. They lost an average of 5 pounds in that week just by doing 2 days. It was I'll try and find it and I'll send it to you. It's like, it was so weird. Like I was reading it to Brian the other day and I was like, oh my gosh, because we love oatmeal.
Yeah.
And we'll eat it all the time. And our oldest loves it too. He calls it Opa meal.
Opa meal.
Which we think that's a better name. So we call it Opa meal.
Makes me think,
Willy Wonka,
Yeah.
Oompa Loompa. And so, yeah, that was a crazy study. I think carbs and oatmeal, too, have gotten a bad rap. And we've always liked oatmeal because we lift weights. And like a lot of people, in the weightlifting community, we're not like power lifters, but oatmeal is an important staple just because it actually is good carbs for you.
Yeah.
It fuels your muscles. It helps you, sustains you for longer.
Yeah.
And carbs, there's always something on the chopping block.
Always.
I mean, what? The 70s was eggs, was cholesterol, eggs.
Cholesterol, yeah.
I don't remember what the 80s was, but then the 90s was fat.
Fat, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy. What would the 2000s be?
I don't have a clue.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, man. I don't know. Well,
I think fat, we're still operating in the fat zone of fat free, even though fat doesn't make you fat. Fat's super important. I think people have started realizing the importance of their fats.
and the brain power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know. I'd have to think of, because there's always a trend. Like over some 10 years, there's something that's bad for you, and then you find out later that it's
good. Yeah. When we put our macronutritional information on everything we cook, and it's interesting to me because I'll get these phone calls, and I treat every customer like they're my own customer.
Yeah.
And so I get these phone calls, and they're asking specific questions, and it takes me normally a couple minutes to realize what diet they're trying to talk about, but not talk about it.
Yeah.
And then I'll try to steer them, okay, well, if that's what you're trying to do, that's why we have sides. We have every meat you can think of. We have all these side vegetables. This is where you want to go. And then somebody else is, I need more fiber. So most of our stuff has how much fiber's in it, and it's interesting because whether it's the Mediterranean diet or the keto diet or the paleolithic diet or the low carb, no carb, or whatever it is, we pretty much can serve any diet out there basically because we have so many different options. But we don't want to discourage anybody from trying something for themselves. Because if you're at least trying something for yourself, you're not staying who you used to be. So often in life, we become complacent, whether it's through reading our Bible, through our, maybe it's through our appearance or through our health or through our food or in our relationships. We become complacent. And so in every aspect of our body, our life, we should constantly be trying something new to help us to become who we think God wants us to be.
Yeah.
And I never want to discourage somebody for trying. I can't always fulfill everything.
Yeah.
Recently, we had a customer who had bariatric surgery. And so she said, "Can you do something for me?" And I was like, honestly, I have no idea what that means.
Yeah.
I know you had your stomach cut. I'm going to have to do some research. And so I was at a basketball game, and I went to ChatGPT, and I said, "I need you to tell me everything you know about bariatric surgery and what they have to eat." And all of a sudden I just realized they need smaller portions and low carb. That's it. I'm like, that's a no-brainer. So I just made up 12 menu items that are smaller portions and low carb. I try to take different meats, and I realized that some of them can't eat chicken, some of them can't eat beef, and so I'm kind of a mixture of that, and it's got to be smaller, cut smaller because their stomachs are so small. And the first week we put it on the menu, we sold 10, 15, 20, and next week we sold 150.
Wow.
Of these items. And I realized that a lot of people are scared of the word bariatric because they associate that with something wrong with their stomach. And so I had to put a / low carb, so people could understand they were actually just smaller portions.
Yeah.
But I think we all, in our life, we read something and we don't want to be associated with that word, or we don't want to, we maybe there's a stigma to bariatric surgery. But why wouldn't you encourage somebody to get healthier? And it might take a surgery. It might be going to join the gym. It might be leaving an environment, going to a different environment. But whatever it takes, as Smash Meals, when it comes to food, we want to be there for you. Whether it's your wedding, somebody's funeral, meal prep, catering, the whole 9 yards. We want to be a part of it. It's funny. I did in this last year. I had multiple weddings that I was the pastor of, and also the caterer. And I had some funerals that I was the pastor of and the caterer, and it's watching those two kind of combine. And I was always kind of shied away from it until Hurricane Helene. I rarely ever talked about being a pastor while talking about Smash Meals. And I rarely ever talked about Smash Meals while being a pastor.
Did you just want to keep them separate?
I wanted to keep them separate because it was uncomfortable for me. I didn't want to exclude anybody. I didn't want anybody to feel like I was whatever it was. Like I didn't want anybody in my church to ever feel like they had to buy my food. Like I never want that. And I never wanted anybody who bought my food to feel like I was forcing them to come to church.
Yeah.
And then Hurricane Helene hit and I was like, forget it. I'm just going to tell everybody everything I'm doing, and I'm going to figure out how to join them together. And that was a huge moment of relief for me. That you know what, I can be proud of who God is creating me to be, and that was a big moment. And to just accept where I am in my life. Yeah, you know, I've been a pastor since I was 18. I've been a meal prep owner for 8 years. Right, so at the end of the day, I can be both. Yeah. And I can put those together, just like you can be a podcast person and you can own rental property, you know, and you can help clients. They don't have to listen to your podcast. They don't have to stay at your places that you rent, but they can do both. And I think many times, for me anyway, I feel like I need to separate different parts of my life. And then I look back and I realize that was a mistake. Yeah. Why don't we blend our lives, you know, and try to realize that we have different parts of who we are, and, you know.
I think that's a defense mechanism when we do that, when we try to compartmentalize things, is in case something doesn't work out. Then it's small and we don't really have to tell anybody about it because we just kind of kept it over here, you know? And I think that we do that a lot with things in our lives. And so I think that just letting it all, just tell people, go for it. Like it doesn't hurt, because then there's some accountability too when you do that. When you shed some light on it and you open it up, it's kind of like, okay, I'm going to try and do this, and here we go. Let's see how it works. And then it just, I think it helps, you know. So I'm with you. I hear you. Yeah. It's funny because people have said, so wait, you know, if I've talked to them about being on the podcast, they're like, but wait a minute, don't you guys do like rentals? Like corporate rentals? So you guys just do fully furnished rentals? And I'm like, yes, we do. But we also do photo video, and we do all of our own photo video for our business. So we actually have 2 businesses. And then but it's like, listen, that's not what the podcast is going to be about. We just want for people to come on and share their story and who they are and what their business or whatever they want to share. And you're probably going to
start a jacket company, right? With some, you know, it's so cold here, you know, like we will also sell you thermal underwear when you come to our packet.
I feel like it hasn't warmed up in here at all.
If I ever come back, I'm gonna have to like call you the day before. Hey, I need to know what to wear. Because,
seriously.
I should have worn some thermal underwear in here.
Do we have blankets in the car? Do we have blankets in the car? Are you cold too? Oh, okay. Oh my gosh. Well, we have blankets in the car.
So your next person, you need just like a stack of blankets right here and be like, okay, hey, we got you. Yeah. Just start layering.
We need a blanket sponsor. That's what we need next.
My pillow. No. What was that? Snuggie? You can put everybody in like Snuggies and then they could sit here.
Yeah. I still have a Snuggie.
Oh, I'm jealous.
It's a Rainbow Bright Snuggie.
You're winning.
It's awesome because, I mean, you know, you're a child of the 80s as well. Yeah. Rainbow Bright, man.
I mean, Care Bears for life.
Oh, gosh, Care Bears. Well, I had 2 older brothers, and so I had a pretty good mix of like Rainbow Bright, Care Bears, but then also like Ninja Turtles and like G.I. Joe and like Transformers. And then, you know, so like I had that really good balance of the girl stuff.
I have 2 older sisters.
Oh,
yeah. Right. So I played Barbies, you know.
Yeah. And,
we had a Barbie car.
Ooh, the Barbie car.
And we had those little Barbie houses that we.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that was fun. I remember when they got bunk beds. I was so excited, you know. and then we got the trampoline. You know.
Wait, Barbie had a trampoline?
No. I'm just telling you, like my things my sisters got. Oh. And I was so excited about, you know, like we had a trampoline and you know how dangerous those things were when they first came out. Like, like here you go, good luck. You know.
Oh, I mean, who hasn't accidentally jumped off a trampoline, and who hasn't had one leg go through the springs and the other stay on the top? Like for sure, we've all done that. A lot of injuries on trampolines, but now there's nets. Now there's like so many safety measures for everything I don't know if we've gone in a good direction with that or like, because there's, as a kid, you gotta
break something.
Yeah, you gotta live a little bit and accidentally. Although I'm saying that as a mom, and I like freak out over things. As I try though. It's hard. It's hard as the mom of boys because I know they gotta wrestle. I know they have to do like some of those boy things, just like whatever. And so I have to be like, okay, I'm a girl. I didn't do some of that. And the Brian would be like, it's totally normal. And I'm like, okay, all right. I'll just try and like look away or do something else. But it's funny. We always wanted boys too.
Yeah.
We never, I mean, whatever God was going to give us, we were going to have fun with anyways. But we were just like, man, we just feel like we're supposed to have boys. And we got married later in life. So we had our boys a little bit later in life too. And so it's weird because having kids is not, it's harder as a, I don't want to call myself middle-aged, but I mean, it's harder as somebody, because I got pregnant and I had the boys at 39 and 40.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah. So like,
wow.
Yeah.
So I was born in 81 and we had them in 2010, and, and I felt like I was old then. I was 25, 26.
Yeah.
And, wow.
Yeah. So that's us. Welcome to our life.
Welcome.
So it's funny when you talk about these moments with your kids, I'm just like, oh man, I'm excited about those moments. And then we always have to like, we literally will be like, okay, when they're 20, we're going to be how old? Just because we're like, God, please help us be here long enough to like see some of these things or, but it's just funny, but that's just where we're at with life.
I tell you what, if y'all ever have me back, I would love to, like sit around and just like talk about like stories from early on in my ministry. And like, there's so many times people are like, oh, did you write that down? And I'm like, no, I got a good memory.
Yeah.
But sitting here today has like been fun thinking about like things that happened to me early on in my ministry. And, I would love to hear about you too. Like, I want to hear like what
you want me to cry more?
I kind of actually want that. I want Beth to be sitting here and like jotting things down.
She'll watch this and be like, Leah, I know what you need.
Yeah. But I would love to, like, I want to know more about that lady. Like,
Miss Laura.
Miss Laura. Like, what happened to her?
She passed away a few years ago. So I only lived with her 1 year. It was just my senior year. So like my family moved down to Florida. And then I stayed and rented a room from her my senior year of high school. And it was so weird because, so I in Minnesota, I came from a giant, well-known, awesome high school. And then I went to little tiny nowhere, Connecticut. And my graduating class had like 84 kids. And I was like, what is this? This is crazy. But I like specifically remember the first day of school, I was a cheerleader in high school, which I know sounds funny to say, but I always loved to do dance and gymnastics, and I didn't get the chance to do those. I did extra school curriculars. Those what I could do when I was growing up, and cheerleading was the closest to gymnastics and dance that I could get. So I was like, all right, I was thinking do some cheerleading, have some fun. So the first day of school, junior year, we had a game, and I had to wear my uniform, and I was like, I'm going to get freaking typecasted as like this cheerleader. I don't know any of these kids. Great. Yeah. And I just remember walking and standing at the school steps and I was like, I don't know anybody in this building right now. And I'm about to walk in as a junior. All right, here goes. And so I just did it. I walked in. And so junior year was weird. And then at the end of junior year, my parents were like, all right, we weren't military, but my dad took a job opportunity in Florida. They were like, we're moving to Florida. And that's when God was like, I'm not done with you here yet. And I was like,
wow.
Why? And then Laura, who was our next door neighbor, like out of the kindness of her heart, she's in her 70s. She's going to have like a 17-year-old move in with her. Like, God bless her for that.
Yeah.
So that's it. I mean, this is a funny story. She wasn't the best cook. And one my friend Mer, she's going to watch this. One time she came over, and Laura's particular terrible dish was macaroni and cheese.
Oh.
She just did macaroni, and then she took like any kind of cheese that was in the fridge and melted it and threw it over the top. So it was like coagulated. It was gross. And so one time my friend Mer came over for supper and I was like, hey Laura, can you what are you making? And she was like, macaroni and cheese. And I was like, oh gosh. So we had choked it down and I was like, hey, Mer loved it so much. She wants more. And she looked at me and she was like, like, I hate you, because she's in her 70s. She's not going to like not eat it. She just felt so badly. But anyways, she was just such a wonderful lady, and she had just a heart after God. She just loved helping people that were sick and dying. And, most of these people were younger than she was. And so then I lived with her for that senior year of high school, and then I graduated, and then I joined my family in Florida, and kept in touch with Laura over the years, a little bit after that. Yep. And Brian and Mur. Those are like, just like my two best friends ever. And I met them both, happened to meet them both in Connecticut. So that's why like God was like, I'm not done with you yet. And it's so funny because Brian and I, we were best friends in high school. And if I was ever having a bad day, I would be like, where's Brian? I just need a hug from Brian. And so like, I just needed a hug from him. He just put a heater behind you. Can you
I was like, that feels so good.
Yeah.
Where'd that come from? Like, I'm like, oh, hallelujah.
Yeah. And so it's just really funny that at that moment, God was probably like, you kids, you don't even get what's going to happen in like 20 years. But, then we had to make some of the mistakes of our 20s. Like I was also married in my 20s, and I got divorced, and I was a business owner also. So when you said that, I could really resonate with you, because I had a business with my ex-husband, but it was really my business because it was a hair salon and tattoo parlor. And that was what I was trained in. I was, did hair forever. And so that was weird to figure out about closing the doors or what I wanted to do. And God had opened up an opportunity for a job on the West Coast. That's why I moved. And so I'd had my salon for 3 years. Then I went through the divorce, and I was like, I'm done. I got to get out of Florida for a little bit. And so that's when God took me to the West Coast. And I needed time to heal from that too. Cause it was not great, but it made me who I was today. And so it's really interesting, those steps and where we go and what we do in our 20s. And then Brian and I reconnected, when we were like our mid 30s, then we started, we'd stayed in touch over the years, and, social media, MySpace had started the early 2000s,
He probably wasn't in your top 5, but
well, it got to top 8 at one point.
Top 8? Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Remember, you could have music on there?
Oh, yeah.
Remember, you could have a theme song?
Yeah.
Did you there was a headline, you could change that too. Your top 8. Yeah. That was like, it was one of the best ones.
You talk about best friends, and like Jennifer Mills was one of my best friends growing up. And I remember I bought a book called HTML for Dummies, and I wanted to write web pages.
Okay.
So I knew she liked butterflies. Like, we're just like buddies, right? And still the buddies to this day. Like, I love her husband to death. He calls me all the time. But I wrote code to make a web page with butterflies flying across of it. That was my first ever web page I made. And
is it still active? Can we find it?
Oh, gosh almighty. Wouldn't that be amazing? I have
that
no
would
idea
be hilarious.
But we're talking about dial up. That's when I was making this thing. Yeah. But I remember like sending it to her. I was like, I made you something. And she's like, oh, that's cool. And I'm like, I worked hours trying to figure out how to code to make butterflies fly across the screen, And then I had another buddy named Ricky, and Ricky moved from Michigan to Tennessee in the 5th grade. And it's his first day of school. I don't know him. He doesn't know me. And I was terrible back then. I was.
What do you mean you were terrible?
I was an awful kid. Okay? Always in trouble.
Okay.
Didn't listen to my parents. Like, I was not a good kid. And first day of school, I didn't bring anything that my mother packed me. And so I saw this random kid in the hallway I didn't know. I was like, man, you got a pencil? He's like, a pencil? I was like, yeah, I didn't bring any pencils. He's like, it's the first day of school. How do you not have any pencils? And I was like, I don't know. So he gives me a pencil. And then I was like, hey, where are you going after school? And he tells me, like, I'll walk with you. And he's like, you're just going to walk with me? So we walked home, and he's like, you can't come to my house. And I was like, okay. So I walked to his house, knocked on the door. His dad comes to the door. He looks at me. And I was like, is Ricky here? And he just slams the door. And I hear, hey, Rick, some fat kid's out here to talk to you. That was my introduction to their family.
Yeah.
And so we've been great friends for a long time. But, you think about those friendships that form from random connections of moving, and that's how Ricky was. And Matt, on the other hand, we grew up together. We were born in the same hospital. His dad was the guy that delivered me. He was my he was my doctor my entire life until I was forced to get another doctor because he retired. I mean, and you think about that. Like, we were born in the same hospital. His dad was my doctor. We became buddies. And in fact, every time I'm around his dad, I'm like, I'm still mad at you. And I'm like, you cut off too much when you circumcised me. And he just laughs at me. It's 1981. We can still laugh about that.
Yeah.
And so Matt and I became great buddies. And then we traveled the country together. And so I'll tell you a funny story about eating.
Wait, where does he live now?
He lives in Chattanooga.
Oh, wait, no. Oh, wait. What's Matt and then Rick?
Ricky, yeah.
Oh, where's Ricky live?
He lives close to my parents' house. In fact, he sees my parents and my family more than I do.
Oh, okay. All right.
He's all the time with my parents. I mean, he sends them a Mother's Day and Father's Day cards, like that kind of relationship. And so we're traveling the country, going back to when I was 18.
Yeah.
And this lady I knew growing up who would make my family these cakes and these like cheese bread and like phenomenal food, she moved to Washington State. And so we're like traveling the country, and we didn't eat in any restaurants. We bought groceries and we cooked it outside of our truck every single night. Like, and I was like, so we're like in Canada. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to call my mother and see where this lady lives in Washington State. I mean, we can stop by her. She's like this phenomenal cook. And so like, we're looking forward to a home cooked meal. So I made arrangements. We were going to go see her. She lived next to an Indian reservation. Like, I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Wow. So we travel. And of course we didn't care where we went. We get to this lady's house. Okay. And literally we realized she lives on an Indian reservation. Like, don't know how she got there. I still couldn't figure out what the story was if I told you again. So we get there and like, I'm thinking she knows we're coming. She's going to cook this phenomenal food. So it's about dinner time. And she's like, boys, I got y'all some good dinner tonight. And so we sit down at the table. She brings this bowl of water. It's been boiling with these red wiener dogs.
Oh my gosh.
And they're like the most nastiest hot dog you ever imagined in your life. And now Matt doesn't eat hot dogs. He doesn't eat mayonnaise. He doesn't eat ranch dressing.
Okay.
He doesn't eat hot dogs.
All right.
And he just looks at me.
And did he think you planned it?
I don't know what he thought. Oh my God. And then she's like, tonight, boys, for entertainment, we're going to go watch them sell fireworks. Like, we literally just drove across the country and we did not want to go watch somebody sell fireworks.
Yeah. Wait, did you eat the food?
Well, I did. I don't know what Matt did.
Yeah. He drank the water.
I'm sure he drank the water. But, at one point, like, we left that house and he's like, you punk. Here you've been talking about this lady's food for hours and weeks, and you served me the giant red hot dog. And he still talks about that, and I'm sure if you called your friend today, you'd be like, so want to eat macaroni?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We still joke about it. We still joke about the macaroni for sure. And she's, I don't know if she's upset at me still to this day about that.
I mean, I wouldn't blame her.
Yeah.
Matt's still mad. He'll bring it up. We go fishing every year together, and we spend a week in the Boundary Waters with our sons and friends. And I'm the cook, obviously. And everything I cook, he gives me a hard time about every single thing.
Please tell me one of these times you've brought ridiculous hot dogs.
You know what? I never have. This year I'm bringing big hot dogs.
See where you can find them, get something absurd and like
sneak them in there.
Yeah. Keep it a secret and then get a bowl of water, recreate it.
Yeah.
And then,
that'd be great.
Yeah. He'd probably be like, you dang it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
He definitely would. He finds these little things to pick on me about. And like one of them's my bacon's never flat enough. And I'm cooking in the woods. Like there's no electricity. Yeah. There's no running water. Yeah. There's nothing. There's no cell phones. We're 10 miles from everything. If you haven't been to the Boundary Water Canoe area, highly recommend it. It's the most peaceful place in the world, and you have nothing. But out there, he'll still complain about the bacon, and it's too curly.
Yeah.
So, oh man,
it's like a pig's tail. Literally, he can't handle it.
No,
that's funny.
Yeah.
I want to commend you on sitting still for this long, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, because you said this morning, you said that this almost gave you anxiety because you don't like to sit. You're always moving. So from the second your eyes wake up and you take that little time to get your body moving, do you do any stretches to help with some of the pain?
No, you have to stand on it and just pop, just like, yeah. So evidently when I was in high school, I broke my ankle playing football. I thought I sprained it. Evidently I broke it. Oh. And so in 2005, I graduated in high school in 99. 2005, my doctor says to my parents, hey, did he break his ankle? And they're like, no. And they're like, he's got a hole in his ankle. Yes, he broke it. That's what they told him. They're like, they never broke it. Found out I broke it. I just thought I sprained it. But so then when it was re-injured in the motorcycle wreck, like there's still a hole in my ankle. And so I had to break it loose. But no, I just get up and go. I mean, you just got to get up and go.
And so are you constantly moving from when you wake up to when you go to bed?
Yeah. If I sit down, I go to sleep. Yeah.
You didn't do that here though.
Yeah. Well, no, you let me talk.
When do you have to set time aside to write your sermons for Sunday? Like how does the flow work between figuring out all the smash meals and then figuring out what your congregation needs?
That's a great question. So when I was in Chattanooga, one of my ministries, I worked as an associate for a guy named Mark Gooden, and Mark was the senior pastor of Signal Crest United Methodist Church, and he wrote his sermons a year in advance.
Oh, wow.
So he would sit down in June and start sketching out, and he knew every sermon title in scriptures for a year. And so he got me in the habit of doing that. And so I have every sermon title and scriptures planned out all the way through December 31st. Oh, so then on Monday morning when I wake up and I get going, I open up my phone and I go to what the scripture is going to be for the following Sunday. And I read all those scriptures and I read the sermon title. And then throughout the week, when things happen, and I'm reading the scriptures, and I'll read the scriptures around it. I'll read, and then I begin to write my sermon. And then on Thursday, I actually sit down and sketch it out. Like after I've written, so I've written it all week, and then Thursday I put it in long form and send it off to our tech guys to put it on screens.
Okay.
But it's a week long. It's a process. But so the month of November, I take the whole month to get ready for the next year. And then so that's when I normally, do that.
If there's something that happens that you feel like you need to address something differently, if you need to pivot the sermon.
I'm telling you, the most amazing thing is that no matter what seems to happen in our society, in our world, in my life, that sermon's ready for it. Mm-hmm. It's the most amazing thing that I've ever experienced in my life. Because even when COVID hit, like the sermons that I prepared a year in advance worked perfect with COVID. If there's something that's happened in our society, I'll go to that scripture for that week and I'll be like, how? Like, how did we know that was going to be the scripture?
Yeah.
And it blows me away. And I've been doing this for years and it still blows me away to this day, because it seems, to me anyway, as the writer of the sermon, that feeling like what God's giving me, it always lines up. And it's been that way for a long time. So oftentimes I'll pull in different scriptures, but the theme never changes. And it's always been aligned with what's happened in our society.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's God going before you on that one.
Right? Oh, absolutely. You gotta give God the grace on that, the credit on that. And my buddy Joe, he always says, God is awesome. He's like, if I ever catch somebody saying God is good, and I always like, nope, God is awesome. And he's a preacher, and he says, anytime somebody says that was a good sermon, he's like, all right, God, good job up there. We're not going to take the credit for that. So it's not an easy thing. I mean, to write sermons every single week, and but to have repetition, and I know when I got to do certain things, and it's just like buying certain products, buying certain food to cook. Like there's just a process for it all. And I just kind of follow the process and go on what I do.
What's the name of your church right now?
So I have two. Bluff City United Methodist Church, which is in the middle of Bluff City.
Okay.
And then Weaver Union Church, which is out kind of like next to Sullivan East High School, close out there. And it's an interesting church because it's a union church. Okay. And union churches are made up of multiple different churches. So we're a Presbyterian Methodist church.
Oh, interesting.
Now, I'm the only pastor there. But back in the day when union churches were about, when they first kind of came about, a Methodist pastor would be there one Sunday, a Presbyterian pastor would be there the next Sunday, a Baptist pastor would be the next Sunday, and they'd rotate through that. And so it's really cool to see, multiple different people who have slightly different theologies coming together to worship. I love that about our churches. Both my churches are awesome. I'm really happy to be there.
Have you always had two? Seems like the recurring theme is you've always had two at one time.
So my first charge was, two churches in Mount Carmel and Oakfield. And then I went to Sunbright and Rugby Road. Then I went to a standalone church, Signal Crest. And then from Signal Crest down in Chattanooga, I moved up to Easton, up this area. And I was at Malsam and Hardin Valley. And then I went to Salem, which was a 1 Point church, and because it was a bigger church. And then I was there for 8 years. And then after that, I came to these two small churches.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's been a journey.
Yeah. And so is the church looking for a Presbyterian pastor too, to
No.
share the load? No. Okay.
No. We'll just, as long as I'm there, they'll just have me. Mm-hmm. And then maybe the next pastor will be a Presbyterian pastor. You just never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So back to Smash Meals for a second.
Okay.
Do you have any experience prior to this of being any kind of a chef or a cook, or have you just always enjoyed cooking?
No, the answer is absolutely not. I've always enjoyed cooking. Mm-hmm. Never. So when I was a little boy, my mom would help me cook. My dad would make me go out and start the grill and cook steaks. And I remember crying one day because I couldn't figure out how to start the grill. And then one time I started the grill and it caught the porch on fire, and I ran inside. Dad, the porch is on fire. And he's like, well, go get a water hose. And I come out there and I'm like, and an ember had fallen and it was on fire. And my dad, he literally, I guess I was taking too long, so he just peed and put it out. I remember being as a little kid, that's the coolest way to put a fire out, Yeah. But so I always just cooked for my family, and I enjoyed that. And then when I was in seminary, I lived on campus a couple days a week, and so I started cooking for the guys that live with us. And every week we would have community meals, and people would just throw money in a pot. I would go to the grocery store and come back and cook. And so I've always loved cooking for people. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times when I cook for people, and that's something I miss about meal prep, is I love to see their reactions to them enjoying the food, because I'm the most confident in what they're going to enjoy. Mm-hmm. So I'm scared to give people gifts. Mm-hmm. It's a fear of mine. I don't know what you call that, if there's a word for it, but I'm constantly scared that when I give somebody a gift and they open it, they're going to be disappointed. And so I rarely wrap gifts because I don't want to see somebody's disappointment. But when I cook food, I doubt they're ever going to be disappointed because I know what it tastes like. Mm-hmm. And so being a cook or a chef, I've learned a lot from being at Smash Meals. And I had to learn a lot, but I've always enjoyed it. And I think that helps. I want to taste good food. Mm-hmm. And so therefore I want people to taste good food. Mm-hmm. But I do miss that because I never get to see anybody eat my food. Mm-hmm. And most catering events, it's just drop and go. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes I'll stand back and just watch people at first, Mm-hmm. But I want to know what people think. I want to know what they don't like or they do like, or what can I do different? That's how you grow a business, mm-hmm. right? You get feedback. Mm-hmm. Somebody recently said, hey, I wish on your salad you would put cheese in a container. So I called them this week and I was like, you know what? I've been thinking about your comment. From now on, we're going to put all our cheese in a container, in a little bowl, mm-hmm. so that it doesn't just sit with the salad. We're going to, and hopefully that helps them enjoy their food more. Mm-hmm. Because I want constant feedback of what I can do better. A guy called me yesterday. He's like, hey, your burger, we have burgers on the menu, and we, whenever we sell burgers, what do you think I got to cook it to? I cook it to right 135, right? Most people aren't going to eat their burgers red. But if I cook it to 145, 150, and they warm it in the microwave, it's going to be hard as a rock. Mm-hmm. So he calls me and he's like, hey, I'm a little nervous about eating this burger because it's red inside. And I said, we do that on purpose because when you warm it up, it's not going to be red. I was like, but it's cooked at temperature. You can technically eat it without even warming it up, and you're fine. But you need to warm it up because it's better. And mm-hmm. so he's like, thank you, But a lot of times people, they don't always understand why we do what we do. Mm-hmm. And I think that for chicken, 165, you don't want it to be a degree more. You don't want it to be a degree less. I mean, and that's a fine line because you cook it over 165, now it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
If you cook it less and it's raw and you're killing people. Yeah. So we have digital thermometers everywhere. And but to go back to your original question, I have always just loved cooking, and it's been a passion of mine. One Christmas, and I don't know how much time we have left. Brian keeps looking at me, but
no, you can keep going as long as you want. One
Christmas, my dad comes home and he's like, all right, this year for Christmas, we're giving away sourdough bread. And somebody gave him a starter. And so we started with the sourdough starter. And of course, you had to feed it. And so that night we gave away, or the next day we gave away 3 loaves. That's all we made. Well, then our starter grew. So then we gave away 6 loaves. Then our starter grew some more. We gave away 12 loaves. Then our starter grew some more, and we were giving away 24 loaves of bread a day. And it was like a whole process. We had bowls everywhere, and and at first we hated it, right? Because all we saw was that we were kneading and cutting and pulling and cooking. And yeah, we loved eating the sourdough bread, but it was like exhausting. Well, then people started telling us how much they love the food. Now, from mom and dad, I don't think it ever was something they were sad about. But for kids, we went from dreading it to loving it because we knew we were giving away people. We were giving bread to people, and they were loving it. And it's that moment for me. Of course, it goes back to that validation of somebody saying, "We love your bread. Can you cook some more of it?" And so we gave away so many loaves of bread. So a few years ago, when my kids were, younger, I decided one year I was going to give away 100 loaves of bread during December. And so I did it at my home because, sourdough bread, you can make it gluten-free. It's kind of hard. But so I was just making regular sourdough bread, and we gave away 100 loaves one year. And I was telling my kids, I was like, one day you're going to look back on this and you're going to thank me. I know right now you don't appreciate it, but we're touching people's lives. And we would keep bread in our car. And if I stopped at a stoplight, I would roll next to the person's window down. I'd be like, roll your window down. And I would give them, I'm like, hey, I made this morning. Here's a free loaf of bread. Or I was in Pigeon Forge and we were going to watch the Dollywood Stampede. And I waited out in the parking lot and I just gave people random loaves of bread, because it made me happy to see somebody receive something, and so I don't even know why I told you that story, but my parents kind of instilled the love of cooking in me. My sister owns a bed and breakfast, and
cool.
And she owns Charity's Chocolates, and so she makes chocolate for people.
Oh, cool.
And so like over the month of February, like she sells tens of thousands worth of dollars worth of chocolate, and it's her joy. And I love that. This weekend we're going to California to celebrate my kid's birthday out in Big Bear, California. We're going to take them snowboarding, and my other sister's coming in, and her first question was, "Hey, I'm bringing food." Like she was excited to bring us food to cook at our condo. We're all going to stay together out there, and when we get together, 4th of July as a big family, we all make a meal, and that's a big deal. Like dinner time for us is a big important meal because we would always sit around the table and talk and discuss the day.
Yeah.
And I think just watching your family eat together is so important, and I don't do that enough. And I'm very guilty of that. I provide for a lot of people, but because I do work so much, I often don't take that time from my kids, and I just enjoy a meal together. And I need to be better about that.
Yeah, you need to choose one night a week.
Yeah,
you can start that.
Yeah,
that's an important thing. I remember growing up too. We had every meal together. Every meal every night, and then Saturday night was pizza and a movie. And but then again, we didn't have cell phones and things like that back in the day. We didn't have all the distractions that we have these days. But now you're finding a lot more, like restaurants are putting baskets in the middle of tables, and so that you can put your phone away and be present for the meal. And it's we try to not have our phones when we have supper together and things like that. But it's not easy because, especially being a business owner, there's so many distractions for us all the time. But then sometimes we just have to go, all right, we know that God's going to control this situation. We're going to take that 30 minutes and just try and enjoy this 30 minutes, hour, whatever it is, enjoy this meal. So that's something you can challenge yourself for, is maybe one night a week, try and do that.
That's a good challenge.
Yeah.
I like that.
Or even Sundays. Try and just have, I know that's probably a crazy day for you though.
Yeah.
But just have that day really be nothing else but pouring into those 2 twins of yours.
Yeah.
Wait, that's a double negative, isn't it?
It doesn't matter.
The 2 twins.
I like it.
Okay.
We're going with it. It's set in stone. From Webster Dictionary.
Yeah.
We're setting you in stone.
2
twins of yours.
Done. Yeah.
We want to make sure that we know there's 2 of them.
I actually knew a girl who had 2 sets of twins.
Really?
Yeah. She's 4 kids, 2 sets, never been pregnant, just literally 2 sets of twins.
Were there twins running in her family?
No, I think it was just kind of a random fluke thing that happened.
So here's something cool that maybe somebody out in the audience wants to know. So there's no twins in my family, no twins in Ashley's family. So we were unsure of how that happened, right?
Yeah.
We read a study that sweet potatoes increase fertility. Ashley was gluten-free, so she ate a ton of sweet potatoes. Like at that time, she was eating sweet potatoes for every meal. And I look back and I really think that it was the sweet potatoes that increased her fertility.
Interesting.
That created one of the reasons we had twins. And now I'm not a doctor. I've never done any scientific research on that, but I will to this day state that that's the reason why we had twins is because of sweet potatoes. So if there's somebody out there that are trying to get pregnant, you know what? Just
They
start
want twins. All the sweet potatoes.
eat sweet potatoes. Just go for it. Give it a shot.
Well, they're delicious.
You know how many sweet potatoes I go through a week?
Probably a lot.
Yeah, about 160 pounds.
What do you go through the most?
Chicken.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, we have it for lots of different meals: chicken, sweet potatoes, russet potatoes. I go through a lot of steak. A friend of mine, she wanted to buy a cow with me, and so I was like, well, it's got to be USDA, certified. Like I can't just sell random meat.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh no, it's fully inspected. It's fully everything's done. I was like, okay. So, we pick it up from the slaughterhouse, like, and it has a label. I'm like, okay, we're good. And so she thinks it's a big deal that we bought a cow. And so like a few weeks go by and she's like, oh, I'm really enjoying this cow. And I was like, oh yeah, it was great. And she's like, what did you say was? And I was like, oh yeah, I've already moved on to the next cow. like that's gone. And she's like, how did you go through that much meat? And I'm like, well, we about 100 pounds of beef or of steak a week, 100 pounds of beef. We use the brisket, we use everything. And she's like, oh my gosh, that's going to last me a whole year and you're done with it. And I was like, well, that's part of being on a meal prep company.
Yeah. I don't think people can realize that they can buy, like that is literally the definition of buying in bulk is buying like half a cow, quarter of a cow, because that's a lot, but you need a deep freezer for that because it's going to fill.
You do.
Do you hunt?
I do hunt. So this year my son killed 2 deer.
Oh, nice.
And he was excited. So that was a cool moment. So
was this his first time hunting?
No, we've been hunting for a long. He's missed hundreds of deer. And then this year, the 2 deer he shot at, he killed them both. Thank goodness. But that we got to the first one that he killed, and I was teaching him how to field dress it and to walking him through that process. And we had a prayer. And we thanked God right there around this deer that we just killed for God providing. And so the next deer he killed, he's like, thank you, God, for providing. And it was a big moment for me because I said, Dad, you're teaching him. And then we're eating it. And we're, and he, of course, he's a good chef. So all the deer meat he cooks is phenomenal. And I love that. Now, there's a place down in Greenville now. I think it's called Sands Meat Market. And you can go in there and you can buy a quarter of a cow. And it comes right now with a free freezer.
What?
Yeah, they will give you a freezer, a stand-up freezer.
Write it down, Brian.
Sands Meat Market, I believe is the name of it.
And it's like beach sand, SAND?
SANS.
Okay.
And
Brian, you're not writing it down.
He's memorizing it. But you can go and literally, if you buy, I think it's either a quarter or half a cow, they will give you a free freezer.
Wow.
Yeah. How cool is that?
That is really cool.
Yeah.
It just tastes really good.
Oh, it's so good. I tell you one thing that I love about buying meat like that versus meat in the grocery store is when you cook it. And if you cook it side by side, you can smell the difference.
You can see it too.
Well, yeah, but if you just close your eyes, you can know which one was not come from a grocery store. Yeah. And it's quite amazing.
Yeah, we have chickens.
Oh.
And we just lost 10 of them to a raccoon.
Oh.
Yeah, that was traumatizing.
Yeah.
Just to open up the coop door and then to see a couple of them on the floor. And chickens are cannibalistic. So a few of them were like eating their sisters and we're like, gosh, get off of her, And then the most disappointing part is that we can't enjoy the meat because it's, been
spoiled.
Yeah, and raccoons are weird because they'll go for the head. And then they go for the intestines because they want the undigested food. And then that's it. They won't touch the rest of the bird.
Oh, wow.
So, they were pretty mutilated in the coop, but you can definitely tell the difference because, farm fresh eggs are girls free range for the most part. And the yolk color,
It's
everything
definitely different.
Tastes so good. It's so buttery when they're happy, healthy hens. And we in this bunch we got 2 roosters. We didn't know that we were going to get any roosters. Sometimes so Rural King does this thing called Dollar Days,
Oh yeah.
where you can get your chicks for $1.
And
They
you get
already
free
feathered
popcorn.
out.
And you get free popcorn.
Who doesn't love Rural King? If you have kids, go there. Make it it's such a fun place.
Yeah.
And so we only buy chicks when they're $1 because why not? They're already feathered out, so they've already fed them the first few weeks of their life, and they feed them an organic feed. We were like surprised to find that out. We were like, wow, okay, well that's cool. And they're not like vaccinated chicks. Like you have control over your flock and what you want to do with them. And so that's where we've gotten all of our dollar chicks from. And they just love keeping chickens. They're just hilarious. They're fun.
Do you have any guineas?
No,
Oh, okay.
no.
You know, guineas, I learned this when I lived in Sunbright. Guineas around chickens, guineas will go and eat all the random animals or random bugs that help that will attack the chickens, and they keep roosters away or like garments away, like mice and maybe raccoons. But maybe you should get a guinea.
Maybe.
They're loud though.
Yeah, they are really. Well, I mean, our roosters. We have. I mean, one of them is pretty. He constantly crows.
Yeah.
But the next day after the raccoon attack, one of our roosters was a little beat up, and so we were like, maybe he attacked the raccoon and got him out of there. So it was interesting. It was a weak point in our food system that we had. We have a little automatic feeder that we have a hole cut out, and the feeder's really heavy and it's big, and what's it made out of? It's just steel. What? Stainless steel. And so it's a pretty decent, especially when it's filled with a 40, 50 pound bag of feed. And it's on a little platform, and we haven't anchored it or had to do anything. We've never had any problems with any predators getting in the coop. Well, the raccoon figured out to pull it down, and so then it left the opening. So the food was like tipped over like this, and then he just went in there and then went to town. And we have all the roost bars. Like we built it out of old pallets, and then we take old branches as the roosting bars to kind of make it feel like the most organic for the chickens. Plus it's in the yard. It's free. It's, branches. And so some of them, I don't know if you could get up there, but the roosters, I don't know. So
sad.
We should get a trail cam and put it in the coop.
I think it's a great idea.
Oh, that would have been pretty tough to see. But we try and keep it real for our boys. Like the girls, they were dead. We threw them out. One of the boys wanted to touch it, and we were like, okay. And so we got a stick, and he was like poking it. And we've had to slaughter a few that have either gotten like mauled or had,
Yeah.
So Brian has to.
That made me think about Cold Mountain. You remember the movie Cold Mountain? Have you ever seen that movie?
I don't know if wait, Nicole Kidman and Jude Law, right?
Don't ask me, people. Just
okay. I think so. I think that's it. Yeah.
But, they grew up on the farm, and they had to like raise the chickens and do all this stuff. And for some reason, that just popped on my head. Cold Mountain. That was a great movie.
Raising chickens is really fun. It's like they just have their own personality. They're just so cute. They're just really fun. Like we'll go outside, and they'll just like run over to us and be like, hey, how's it going? And they look at you like they'll go kirk, because they have crazy eyes. So one eye looks up for predators, and then one looks down for you can't that's just how they're always going. You can't see it. That's just how their eyes operate. They're just always looking up and always looking down. So when they look at you, they'll be like, and it's just really funny. We just love having chickens. We need more though, because now we're coming off winter, so we're at like 6 to 10 a day of eggs.
Yeah. Well, you need to go to Rural King and get some more dollar eggs or dollar chicks.
Well, that's the hardest part is raising them though, because it just takes, it's like 4 months before they start producing. So then you're in the negative for those 4 months.
I tell you something about Rural King. Obviously, I love the popcorn. I love walking around and seeing everything.
Yeah.
So I take my kids there one day, and they had Coleman four-wheelers. And my kids were like, want a four-wheeler?
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Why not? They were like $1,900. So I go to the register, and they were like, would you like to buy the lifetime warranty or the 5-year warranty? I guess it was 5 years. And I was like, well, I don't know. Tell me about it. And they're like, well, if anything happens in 5 years, we'll fix it or replace it free of charge. I was like, well, how much? And it was like $109. It was like 10% of the price. And I was like, so I said to the salesperson, I was like, so you're telling me that if my four-wheeler that I'm fixing to buy from you rolls into the lake, because we live on a lake, that you will fix it or replace it for free for 5 years. Absolutely no questions asked. I said, so you're telling me that if it rolls over multiple times, you're going to fix it or replace it for free? Absolutely no question asked. So you're telling me if the chain comes off and I bring it back up here and the chain's broken, you're going to fix it or replace it for free? They were like, yeah. I was like, absolutely. Well, this is the greatest day of my life.
Yeah.
So I take them four-wheelers home. And within 3 weeks, both of them had broke. Load them back up on my trailer, take them over there. They fix them, get them back home, ride them for another 3 or 4 weeks. They break again, take them back over there. So this goes on for a couple of years. Well, my kids quit like riding them because they were small. And so I was getting ready to sell them, and I was like, you know what? Before I sell them, I'm going to take them there and get them fixed one more time. I take them to Rural King. I'm like, hey, I need y'all to fix these four-wheelers. They're like, okay. So I don't think about it for like 3 or 4 months. Like, just went from my mind. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to go with them four-wheelers. I go back to Rural King. They can't find my four-wheelers.
Oh my gosh.
Somebody had thrown them away. Rural King gave me all my money back because they couldn't replace them because they quit selling them. So I got all my money back after my kids enjoyed them for 3 years. And they still have that deal at Rural King. You go buy any farm equipment over there and you pay for the warranty, they will fix it or replace it for free. No questions asked.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's such a different, awesome store.
Yeah.
Like until we moved to Tennessee, we didn't know what Rural King was.
Yeah.
And we were like, what is, because Tractor Supply is more normal, where we lived. And so it's like, gosh, RK is the best. That's what we call it. But our boys call it so they call chickens Kikis.
Okay.
That's, how kids come up with names for things. Oatmeal, we already talked about.
Yeah.
Kikis, that's chicken in our house. And so they call it the Kiki store. They're like, let's go to the Kiki store and get some popcorn. And,
absolutely.
Get whatever, some feed or stuff. We actually just watched a video yesterday on how to make your own chicken feed from black fly larvae. So you attract black flies by composting, and then you can create your own chicken feed basically. And then it's supposed to help the eggs taste even better. Isn't that what they said in the video?
I'm sure. I mean, I watched Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. He ate the guava, from the bats. I mean,
guano. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, it's good times. It's good times. Of course, we're gonna have you back, Lou.
I would love to. Have you ever watched the I Am Second videos? Where they sit in like little white chairs with a black backdrop. And they tell kind of like their story, their faith.
No.
Okay, check it out. It's I Am Second.
Okay.
It's like a video series.
Okay.
But as I was sitting here today, I was like, oh, I just went away from the mic. I was like, oh man, I would love just to come back and just like really like write down like stories from the last 20 something years of me being a pastor, because as a pastor you have all these stories that you hold on to of places you've been, people you've met. So many people are. And so important to you, and I think about them, but I don't ever talk about them. Like, I mean, sometimes I'll mention them in sermons, but like, you don't really just go around telling, let me tell you about Billy, Billy Ward, this guy I met in Sunbright who owned a race team who, I never know what he was going to say, but he somehow loved me. I don't, or Doug and Chris Torrance, or, just random people, like this guy in Clifton, and I mean, there's just so many people that I've had a chance to interact with in my life that I think it'd be fun to put on video or audio and just, because there's so much we can learn from people but we don't stop to go back and listen. And I was telling a buddy of mine, Adam, he's in college at Chattanooga. His dad's one of my best friends, Bruce Miller. He's an orthopedic surgeon over in Kingsport. And Adam was like, oh man, you're going to do podcasts. I love podcasts. I was like, what do you love about it? And he's like, well, I start in Chattanooga and I push play. And I love Joe Rogan because he's 3 hours long. And it's the same amount of distance as it takes from get to Chattanooga to Kingsport. And I get to hear people's stories of what they've went through. And he's like, and then one day that story will come back to impact me. And that blows me away because as pastors, we take 15 to 20 minutes and we tell stories and people are done. So like, what is podcast getting that preaching's not, or what is regular conversation why do people enjoy podcasts so much? And I think it's because they don't have to respond, right? Because one of our issues as humans is if you're telling me a story, oftentimes instead of just listening to that story, I'm waiting to tell you my story.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a podcast, you don't ever get to tell them your story. So you get to fully invest yourself into their story because you don't have to respond. And I think that's a powerful key to a podcast. Something I heard the other day, and I've been really trying to do this, and I want your opinion. Am I doing it? It said that if I were to say to you, hey, my kid is, or you were to say to me, my kid's joined the band because he's in the 6th grade or whatever. Most people will respond, oh, I remember when my kid joined the band. But what if your response was, were they nervous? How are you as a parent handling the noise? And you would ask them 5 or 6 questions about what they just said. And then eventually you can say, hey, let me tell you about my kid when he was enjoying the 6th grade. And imagine how much different our conversations would flow. And I think that's what a podcast does because you don't have a chance to interrupt their story. And so I think that's one of the things powerful about what y'all are doing.
Yeah, well, and that's what we want to, that's what we're learning how to do too, because we want to be better listeners. I don't, I'll interject a story or maybe I'll hysterically cry like I did earlier while telling a story, but like, it's not really about me. It's about the other person, but it's a conversation, and that's what's cool. And those are the kind of podcasts that we enjoy too. It's just like, oh my gosh, cool. That's so fun to learn about that person or learn about that field, with Joe Rogan always having crazy people on there that some crazy chemical engineer that worked on like a single cell organism for 300 years and he's still alive. Like, I don't know anything about that. Yeah. Cool. All right. And so that's what's just really fun. And so that's what's cool too about this is that the audience is local and the people are local. And so if anyone wants to come and talk about their story, so we would absolutely love to do that with you. Right? Yeah. Brian's like, heck yes. Yeah. You just tell us when. We'll get another date. We'll call this one part 1.
Okay. And then we'll have part 2.
And then we'll have Lou part 2. Oh, it even rhymes.
Ooh. Lou.
Yeah.
Part 2.
So where can people find Smash Meals? So give me website, social media handles, and then also church.
Okay. So for Smash Meals, smashmeals.com. I'll practice that all the time. Smashmeals.com. So that's a place they can go. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all Smash Meals. Reddit, subreddit, Substack, all the things. Smash Meals. Even have a Twitter account. Who knew? And a YouTube. My YouTube actually gets more views than any others combined.
Wow.
I get, every time I do something on YouTube, like thousands and thousands. I mean, I even have one, it's like a couple million. I'm like, I didn't even know people watch YouTube. But anyway, Smash Meals on there too. That's the place you can go to order. You can go learn about us, smashmeals.com. A lot of information. And locally, we have in Kingsport at Meadowview, where it's where our located. The Great Body Company is in Kingsport. We sell food out of their refrigerator, and you can get that. Build Power Grind out on Fort Henry, you can pick up there. Clark Chiropractic, they've been our first ever supporters, Clark Chiropractic, and they've been with us for 8 years, and so you can pick up there. You can order food and pick up there on Sundays. Misfits Fitness, and then we have Natural Foods Market, which I'm excited about because we got not only you can pick up food pre-order, but you can go in their grocery store and pick up food there. They sell, which is cool. Then we have, I know I'm going to forget something. Olson Martial Arts. You can go outside on Mondays and you can meet in the parking lot. Then we have Greenville CrossFit Arcane, Elizabethan, Ridge Runner, CrossFit. You can pick up there. In Bulls Gap, there's a place called Center of Strength. Really cool. Lady-owned gym. It's really cool. They're into like heavy lifting and a really neat place that you can pick up. We ship all over the country. We FedEx food out. So there's a ton of places that you can find Smash Meals. Most people pre-order, but we do have a lot of people that just will go to random gyms where they sell our food and they just pick it up as they go. So those are some great opportunities for smashmeals.com. But remember this, it changes every single week. All of our sides stay the exact same, but our main breakfast and entrees and a lot of times our desserts change every single week. So for our churches, we're on Facebook with Bluff City and We Reunion. All my sermons are on there every single Sunday, so you can go back and watch any sermon you want. And Bluff City starts at 11, and We Reunion starts at 9. They're small churches. Bluff City is, 40 to 60 on Sunday, and We Reunion is going to be 15 to 25. Really cool little churches. We have a lot going on. One of the neat things that we've been doing recently is we have a free meal every Thursday night at 6:00, and anybody can come get a free meal and sit and eat. It goes from 6 to 7:30. That has been really cool just to see people coming to eat. Last week I did a taco bar for people, and I thought I cooked enough, and we ran out of everything but rice for some reason. I don't know what I was thinking when I was making the rice, because normally I make rice and it's 30 pounds at a time. And instead of thinking I'm cooking for 30 people, I made 30 pounds of rice. So we have plenty of rice. But
it's a lot of rice.
Yeah. But that's how you can find out about us, our church. And you can find me on TikTok, Lou Kizer. I love doing TikTok. I don't know why I like it, but I crack up every time I make one. I was doing this one last year, and it got a lot of views, like a couple 100,000, I think. But it was this guy doing "I'll Fly Away," and he was like a DJ doing "I'll Fly Away," but it was with like a rap song, kind of like. And so I was in there just giving a little jam, like TikTok's like that avenue. I don't really care what people see. I'm just going to do whatever I'm thinking. Whether I find videos of my kids, I'm going to post those. But one of the things I love about social media is when I look back at my childhood, we got like 2 pictures, right? And my parents were amazing parents. They literally just didn't have time to take pictures. And so those cool pictures I cherish when I see those, but that's all I have. So when my kids come around, we have social media. So I post about them on TikTok, on Facebook, Instagram all the time. And then I can't wait to see what my memories of the day was, to remember that moment. And I think as much as social media has destroyed our country and our society and our ability to talk to people, for our memories, it's really been beneficial. So many people live through social media, and their lives are not actually who they are on social media. It's who they want to pretend to be. And yes, that has destroyed so many people's ability to communicate, because they've created a persona that's really not them. And we all do it, whether we know it, we're doing it or not. But for me, the most powerful thing that we have is memories. And I know one day my memory is going to fade, but I can look back on Facebook and I can watch my kids grow up. I can see my life changing, and I don't delete stuff, So almost every day there will be something that comes up about my ex-wife, right? And that's a memory. I mean, it's not like I just all of a sudden forgot, or there'll be something like my car wreck, a car wreck will come up, or my motorcycle wreck, or something bad that will happen that I posted about or I showed a picture of. And that's part of who I am. And we can never deny who we are just because we're somebody different, right? That's what got us to where we are. I tell my kids all the time, I did the best I could with the information I was provided, with what I understood about life at that moment. Just because it wasn't the best decision then doesn't, as we look back, doesn't mean I didn't think it was the best decision at that moment, right? Because I knew what I had, but I enjoy looking back on that because it helps me to see who I am. And as I continue to grow, and I create new relationships, one day my kids will have kids, or, the lady I'm dating, hopefully we get married one day, and then we'll look back on memories that we created, and I'll be proud of those. And of course, one day there'll be a memory that will pop up of somebody I dated and somebody I'm married to, and maybe my ex-wife, and they'll all be on the same day. But I look back and I'm like, thank you, God, for letting me come through those moments.
Yeah.
And I think that's it's something that's important for all of us. We can never forget where we came from. And that was yesterday or 10 years ago or 40 years ago. That's where we came from, and I hope that you sitting here today, you take what you learned about that lady who took you in her house, and when you're 70, you take somebody in, because that's part of who you are. And that's part of growing.
Yeah.
Maybe tonight you go home and cook some macaroni and put some awful cheese on top of it. Just to remember.
No.
And I can get you a wiener. Big red hot dog.
Yeah. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you, Lou. And let's get part 2 going.
Yeah.
This was fun.
And then I think by then you'll be like, and now we have Lou Kizer back for part 2 of his a crazy journey. And as you look back, you remember I cried. I don't know if anything else happened.
Yeah. I blacked out.
Yeah.
Get your popcorn ready, folks.
I think the intros, I think what Brian was trying to say is your intro could be, today I'm Leah, and we're going to talk to Lou Kizer. I have no idea what he's going to talk about, but here we go.
Yeah. Here goes.
Yeah.
Dive right in.
Yeah.
And I also might randomly cry.
Yeah.
We'll just where's Beth?
Yeah.
Beth can just be, do you remember when Tom Green started? Did you ever watch Tom Green?
Yeah, I mean, I remember who he was. Yeah.
Yeah, he had Glenn Humplink in the background. And that was just like, he would just have a cup of coffee and he would just be sitting there. He would just laugh. He just wouldn't participate. He would just sit there and like laugh in the background. Yeah. So originally I told Brian, I was like, you should just do that. You don't like doing anything. You can just hang out in the back and just like laugh and drink some coffee or something.
I love that.
But
absolutely.
It'd be hilarious. But that'll be Beth and she'll be like, Leah, you need some.
Yeah, I got you.
I got you, girl.
I got you, girl. Yeah. Hey, now look, in July, Beth throws this amazing party every July. And so it's the weekend after the 4th.
Okay.
Y'all need to put that on your calendar.
Okay.
It's a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at her house.
Okay.
Like last year, there's like 150 people there.
Wow.
And we float the river, and I cook for everybody. And there's a band and like tents and chairs set up because she lives on the river.
Yeah.
And I can't wait for this year.
Nice.
So you need to put it right now on your calendar.
Okay.
The weekend after the 4th.
Okay.
Okay. People from all over the country fly in for this event.
Really?
And it's phenomenal. She gets t-shirts, hats. Like, it is the coolest thing. And then we just have a ball. So imagine 100 floats tied together floating down the river. Mm-hmm. That's what we do.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good times.
So it's good times.
All right.
All right.
Cool.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, Lou.
All right.
Appreciate you.
All right.
This episode is powered by Outpost Roasters, small batch, high quality coffee with soul. Outpost Roasters in Johnson City specializes in freshly roasted, small batch, ethically sourced, fair trade local coffee. That's what sets them apart from the big guys. They work directly with small farms and co-ops to ensure responsible practices and rich, balanced flavor in every single cup. Whether it's early mornings or late nights, their 12-ounce bags deliver bold, smooth coffee at a totally fair price. Head to outpostroastersjc.com to explore their blends and single origins. Outpost Roasters, coffee that's definitely worth waking up for.